It stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Wow, that was great, great unison. Welcome everybody, good morning. Curry County, Oregon Board of Commissioners meeting, March 3rd, 2021. To my far left, introductions, Director of Finance, Brad Rickert. To my immediate left, Christopher Pash, Commissioner, myself, Court Boyce. To my right, John Herzog, Commissioner. To his right, County Counsel John Huddle. To his right, Staff Jesuit. In the audience, we have Superintendent Tim Wilson. We have Gordon Clay, leader of our Curry County Awareness and Prevention Suicide Committee. We have Sheriff John Ward, Matt Hall from the Porterford News, Curry County reporter, and a very distinguished group in the hallway. Thank you all very much for being here. First in line of duty casualty report. I'm just going to direct everybody, if I could, to the screen. I'm sorry that our veterans in the hallway probably can't see this. Maybe you could come up one at a time, two at a time, which we appreciate. They say that Arlington Cemetery has almost 500,000 gravesites. If you get in the middle with flat ground, you see tombstones every direction, nonstop. I think the picture you hear says 1,000 words. This says thousands and thousands of words. So no casualty report today. A little better year so far for the first 2 months compared to 2020. Military deaths, firefighter deaths, and law enforcement officers lost in the line of duty. So I have I'm going to give a quick COVID report here. We know that Curry County went up from moderate, jumped from moderate to exposure level of extreme. We're watching that very, very close. We're working with the state of Oregon on what that means for Curry County's future. Everybody have their mics on?
I don't know. Oh, that.
So this is a quick paragraph from Douglas County I think represents Curry County very well. Bear with me. I think it'll be impactful for everybody that's hearing this. It has been 1 year as of 2 days ago. It is unbelievable that today we mark the 1 year anniversary of the first recorded COVID-19 case in Oregon. It has truly been an incredible, sad, and unprecedented year. To say that the pandemic has turned our world upside down would be an understatement. 1 year ago, we would have thought that businesses and employees would shift to online and remote working environments that included people working from their kitchen tables long term. Who would have ever predicted that our cherished wide world of sports would come to a halt, or that our children would barely step foot on a school bus or school campus, or that our high school seniors would have to host a drive-through graduation ceremony or virtual program? That we were living in a world where educators and parents suddenly found themselves teaching kids from their living room couches and trying to figure out how to best keep our children engaged with online learning platforms. That our local restaurants, stores, and dance studios have adapted to challenges by reinventing themselves in order to stay in business. How about the fact that plexiglass, floor distance stickers, face masks, and non-contact deliveries would become commonplace? Oh, and toilet paper shortages? Yes, we have all been through so much in the last year, mentally, socially, economically, and physically. But the good news is that there's hope on the horizon with 2, soon to be 3 or more incredibly effective vaccines. We're working on our share, believe me, every day to come to Oregon, thus down to Curry County, that were astonishingly developed and distributed in less than 1 year. We can see the light at the end of the pandemic tunnel, but the pandemic is not over yet, and we all need to stay vigilant in keeping our families, friends, and coworkers as healthy as we can. By staying home when you're sick, wearing face coverings where recommended, keeping your distance from those not in your household, and minimizing in-person social gatherings. Keep your chin up, Curry County, and stay safe. Douglas County Board of Commissioners. Commissioners, do you have anything you want to add to that?
No.
And I have a letter here to Leah Horner that I wrote late last night. It'll just take a minute to read this. I'm going to take a stand, and I'm going to ask the Commissioners to consider doing same. And I think this will take less time than the Douglas County letter. You can write your own individual letters, or you can sign on to this with amendments, whatever might be of your choosing, if you're interested. Leah Horner, Regional Solutions Director, Jobs and Economy Policy Advisor, Officer of Governor Kate Brown. RE, COVID pandemic, no more lockdowns. Dear Ms. Horner, wow, it has been a full year since you since you stepped into action to help deal with the most stressful and intense health matter in Oregon's history. I hope there are no county commissioners that appreciate your effort, diligence, and effectiveness more than we. Thank you. It is with great resolve that I have to inform you, however, that I will no longer support any further COVID-19 lockdown, shutdowns, or restrictions on our citizens. Many, as you know, who have tragically slid into obscurity. I do intend to stand shoulder to shoulder with each and every one and support them to the full extent of my abilities. Our truly dedicated people, some would say heroes, have almost without exception done more than everything we've asked. Those left will unquestionably be the key to our Oregon pandemic recovery. All said is not to say, though, for even one moment, we will sacrifice in the present or future those duties and focus on the vigorous commitment to all of our important stop-the-spread procedures. During the past 12 months, we have witnessed a cure that is exceedingly worse than the disease. The facts, data, and empirical science available are indisputable. Study after study has shown there is no benefit to the tough hedges government has placed around our citizens. The latest research completed from Stanford University is clear. Lockdowns do not result in the desired objectives. We must demand common sense. I ask you to express to Governor Brown to follow the successes of Florida and Ohio, for example, who did not go to the route of unilateral and unprecedented restrictive closures. The unintended consequences to the states that did the opposite have proved to be brutally and powerfully damaging. We only have to take a fair observation to our California neighbor. I insist Oregon leaders be courageous. Please communicate to the governor. While, of course, I have had some routine disagreements during this year, I have fully supported her and staff through the entire duration. However, please understand the continued lengths I will personally go to defend the livelihoods and quality of life of the people I'm sworn to serve. All my best, and thank you again for all your terrific effort, dedication, and always being available for the times I've needed for important consultation. Anything else, Board?
Amen.
Thank you.
I think we can add Texas to that list, too, I think.
Texas just closed. They just opened up 100%
Yep.
as of this morning. So anything else?
No, sir.
Amendments, approval of the agenda, Board.
I have one.
Commissioner Pash?
I forwarded to the chair and Commissioner Herzog yesterday and Mr. Rickert a letter that we're going to need to look at for signing for Richard Christensen, our roadmaster. I'd like to add that to 7K.
Great. What's the title again?
Just a approval letter.
Gotcha.
I'm sorry, it's a waiver letter.
Your pen done right. Waiver letter, Roadmaster Christensen.
Yes.
Thank you. Anything else, Board? The only thing I have is item 7. Actually, I have two things real quick. Item 7F. Let's call this a scrivener's error. I assume it is the minutes actually say for 120. Where'd it go?
It is the description on the ARS is an error.
Okay, that's all I needed. So instead of being 120/21, it is today's date. Thank you. And then 7H, I'm going to appoint a commissioner to the South Coast Business Board of Directors. There's not enough information on that. I don't want to pull it, but I assume it's the South Coast Business Employment Corporation.
Okay, then that is the information that I was given from the South Coast Business
I know Ms.
Board of
Menz
Directors.
and quite a few of her staffs. We appointed Commissioner Pash to that position in liaison.
Yes.
So I just want that to be clear to the public that we needed more information, and I think we can prove it today, but I want to make sure the board is on target here for the South Coast Business Employment Corporation. That's a very important board, Commissioner Pash. Glad you're serving there.
What's DCO stand for?
Director of County Operations.
Yes.
So, yeah, and earlier when Commissioner Boyce or the chair was doing his introductions, he introduced Brad Rickard as our finance director, but he's also the Director of County Operations. So.
Well, it said Bragg Rickard, and then there's a comma. Anyway, no biggie. Thanks.
Yeah, that's just a
Typo, yeah.
no, and it's not a typo. That's
That's the right acronym.
Yeah, DCO means Director of
You
County
could have dots
Operations.
after the three initials there.
Gotcha.
So we're all in agreement, I think?
Make a motion, we approve the amended agenda.
Second?
Any further discussion? Roll call, please, Mr. Jesuit.
Commissioner Pash,
Aye.
Vice Chair Herzog,
Yes.
Chair Boyce.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously.
Do you have something?
No.
In an order received, we have Cindy Freeman. Public comments, please. If I may, she's accompanied by Tim Cowan, Vietnam veteran, I want to mention. And this book means a lot to me, which you autographed. So will you be speaking for Ms. Freeman?
Yes, I will.
Okay, then your name's not on here, but that's okay. You can have about 3 or 4 minutes, Mr. Fortner. Goodness.
You got it. Good
Thank
morning,
you.
Commissioners. Thanks for letting us be here, and County Council and Sheriff. And I guess Semper Fi is in order.
Amen. Hoorah.
Hoorah.
Oh, boy.
Thanks for allowing us to address the Commissioners. I'm speaking with her prior approval. I've got some packets that contain information that's going to be more than 4 minutes, so it's easier for me just to, if I can hand them to John, and he can disseminate it to you and Mr. O. The packets are similar to what I gave to you, Commissioner Boyce, except they've been updated. And then just this morning we found some more information. This is about helping Cindy Freeman, giving her assistance to getting a building permit on her property located 15130 Highway 101 South, Brookings. There have been some problems with her obtaining the permit. Included in that packet is a thumb drive that seems to be the source of a continuing problem. To that end, and I've spoke to County Council, Cindy and I both spoke to County Council, we feel that it's best at this time to not publicly air those issues, and that we would request a closed door, a private meeting with the commissioners, with County Council in attendance to explain the situation and not have it be aired in public at this time. Commissioner Boyce has our contact information, and we would appreciate your assistance. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Great to have you here. And Ms. Freeman, thank you. Oh, I have something for you. Just in the research I've done, I think you have these emails. I want to make sure you have them. Might even be a potential breakthrough, but thank you again for being here today. Thank you.
That's for Chris.
We got these straight now.
Yeah. They were.
No, this is yours, sir.
All right, now.
Okay, next we have Gordon Clay, please. Certainly. Superintendent Wilson, thank you again for being here. Goodness.
Absolutely. Good morning, Commissioners and public. I'm here this morning to speak to the proclamation for March as Self-Harm, Self-Injury Awareness and Prevention Month. Self-Harm Awareness Month is an annual global awareness event and campaign where people make special efforts to raise awareness about self-harm and self-injury. The goal of this movement is to break down the common stereotypes around self-harm and to educate the public about this condition. According to the National Alliance of Mental Illness, self-harm or self-injury means hurting oneself on purpose. One common method, especially with teens, is cutting your arms and legs with a sharp object. But anytime someone deliberately hurts themselves is classified as self-harm. Some people feel an impulse to cause burns with cigarettes or cigars, pull out their hair, or pick at wounds to prevent healing. Extreme injuries of self-harm can result in broken bones. Hurting oneself is a sign of emotional distress. Self-harm often causes feeling of shame. The scars caused by frequent cutting or burning can be permanent. Drinking alcohol or doing drugs while hurting yourself increases the risk of a more severe injury than intended. Self-harm or self-injury is not a mental illness, but it is a behavior that indicates a need for better coping skills. Several illnesses are associated with it, including borderline personality disorder, depression, eating disorders, and PTSD. Self-harm occurs most often with the teenage and young adult years, though it can happen later in life. Those at the most risk are people who have experienced trauma, neglect, or abuse. For instance, if a person grows up in an unstable family, it might have become a coping mechanism. If a person binge drinks or uses illicit drugs, they are at greater risk of self-injury because the alcohol or drugs lower self-control. Self-harm is not the same as attempting suicide. However, it is a symptom of emotional pain that should be taken seriously. If someone is hurting themselves, they may be at increased risk of feeling suicidal. It is important to find treatment for these underlying emotions. I appreciate the efforts of the Commissioner and Commissioner Boyce to sponsor this proclamation for March. That concludes my comments on self-harm. As Superintendent, if I may, just as a follow-up to your comment earlier, in Monday weekly COVID statistics for school operations, Curry County, in its last 2-week look back, was the only county in the state of Oregon that was red. So what that means is we cannot continue moving forward or backwards with our plans. So all 3 school districts in Curry County all have children at school, but we can't move forward in bringing students back full-time at this time. In the last month, we had our first staff case. We've had 2 student cases. That's all on the impact of schools the entire COVID time. The majority of our concerns at school have been for family members who have exposed their children into going into quarantine. So I wanted to make sure you're aware of that. We are doing testing on site now for staff and students who have symptoms, and so far so good. We've had all negative tests. Thank you again for your attention and your consideration of this proclamation.
Well, you and Gordon did all the work on this. Very well done, back and forth, finely tuned. Did not know you're having on-site testing. That is, I didn't hear that. That is terrific news. And Superintendent Wilson, is it true we're going to have a football game a week from Friday night?
We have that, yes, sir. We have that on the schedule. First game against Glendale.
And I hear Brookings likewise.
Yes, Brookings is also, yep, and first home volleyball game tomorrow night against St. Mary's.
Great to hear.
Yeah.
Thank you again for all your work on the
Absolutely.
Suicide Awareness Committee as well.
Thank you, sir.
Great to have you here. Gordon Clay.
For the record, my name is Gordon Clay from Brookings, Oregon. 1% of Americans self-injure themselves annually. That doesn't seem like much, so why be so concerned? People often keep it a secret, but the urge to self-injure isn't uncommon. Oh, the 1% is over 2 million Americans currently engaged in self-injury. While the target groups are adolescents and young adults, people of all ages practice self-injury. Myth. One of the misconceptions is that only females do it. While girls 14 to 17 are hospitalized 4 times more than boys, 30 to 40% of people who self-injure are males, and the highest segment being white male adolescents. Self-injury means hurting yourself on purpose. For boys, its most common method is hitting themselves or an object like a wall or cigarette burns. For most common among girls is cutting with a sharp object or pulling out hair or picking at wounds that prevent healing. Myth. People often say self-injure, enjoy the pain or can't feel it. Self-injury most often hurts. Sometimes feeling the pain is the whole point, to reconnect with their own body or just to feel something. Myth. Self-injury is untreatable. Although it may be difficult to control or stop, most people are able to stop at some point. Because it is most often used as a coping mechanism, however, the practice typically does not stop until the individual has other methods to cope or is fully ready to stop. Myth. Self-injury is a suicide attempt. Most studies find that self-injury is often undertaken as a means to avoid suicide. What is important is to get a handle on it before it becomes a pattern well established, since 70% of those with a history of self-injury have attempted suicide at least once. 70%. Myth. There's nothing I can do. There are many ways that you can help. Instead of scolding or looking down on someone, be as supportive and understanding as you can and let them know you care. Significantly different subject. Some people in your world might be feeling anxious, be physically unwell, or concerned about their well-being. At a time when they're being asked to physically distance themselves from one another, you can definitely be a listening ear and a virtual shoulder to lean on. When you connect, consider the tone and language they are using. Are they posting more or less? Are they answering your calls? Are they communicating as one would expect, as you would expect? Trust your gut and ask, are you okay? Listen with an open mind. Ask them what you can do to help, and don't let them isolate. And I'd say one thing about your speech this morning. What Tim just said, we're the only county that's red out of 36 counties in Oregon. I went to Wild River Pizza on Super Bowl. There were over 50 people in there. Not one person had their masks on except employees. People have got to wear their masks. It's got to be more than over your chin. It's got to be over your nose. And we're the ones that are in control. The government's doing their thing, and we got to deal with that however we can. But I hope you're as adamant to your constituents about taking responsibility to keep this county safe as you are with the state government. Thank you.
Gordon?
Yes.
Just to correct you on something, there's actually, I think, 6 counties in the extreme level. If you meant by red, the extreme...
No, I'm talking about school districts.
Thank you. I'm sorry. I misunderstood.
What Tim was talking about. We're the only red. And that's got to say something to our constituents. And I hope you're as diligent about impressing them to keep this county safe as you are to the state government.
I sent something out early yesterday morning. Maybe you didn't get that, but it would address it and did, and I'll make sure that you get a copy of that. I'm surprised you didn't. But.
Well, I may.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Sheriff Ward?
Good morning, Commissioners. Sheriff Ward, Curry County Sheriff's Office. First of all, about the COVID thing, if you don't mind, I'd like to say a couple things. I do know that up until about 2 weeks ago, it was kind of steady with low numbers, and that's why we ended up in the low risk category. One week we had 36 COVID positive cases. This week it's 19, and so far that I know of, it's even less than that. So the state putting us up into extreme is absolutely ridiculous, if you ask me. There's no way, and I appreciate the letter that you wrote, and I support that as well. We're not shutting down our county. It's been a year. Whatever they're doing has not worked, other than to continue to doing what we're doing to live and let live. My body, my choice. Anyway, reason I'm here is talk a little bit about emergency management. A little over a year ago, we gave the county emergency management to control, and a little over a month ago, we took it back. My purpose here is just to let you know that the emergency manager, Jeremy Dumeyer, had resigned, gave me a letter Monday. His email to me basically said, I do want to be very clear. I greatly appreciate the opportunity you have afforded me twice, no less. My desire to leave is not due to the sheriff's office. I thought about reading the letter of resignation into record, but I'm just going to give you guys a copy of it and let it go from there. Just so you know, I just wanted the public to know that he resigned, had nothing to do with the sheriff's office. So anyway, let me give you some copies here.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff. Now, being that it's budget season, we're going to look at what the budget is for emergency services and put a advertisement out to replace emergency management. So just wanted you to be aware of that. Everything's fine. I have over 100 years of experience with myself, Captain McDonald, and Sergeant Jordan White with emergency services, so we'll be fine. All I know is we're going to be looking at what has been done and what hasn't been done, and getting caught up and going out to a lot of the community partners and seeing what we can do for them and incorporate that into our emergency services. Other than that, that's all I got.
Sheriff, are you going to have any amendments to that position? Do you even have any plans yet? The reason I ask, we have our new system called NeoGov. I mean, it's questionable if it's effective, but it might be something that you want to look at. Could be helpful in that recruitment. I'm just not sure what position you're trying to fill or what portion.
It's just the emergency services coordinator, and it'll be overseen, fully supervised by my office. And I will be talking to Julie Swift about advertisement. However she puts it out there, it's fine with us. NeoGov works for me as well.
Thanks for that update. Anybody else? Questions?
No, sir.
Okay, thanks again, Sheriff. David Barnes?
Good morning. I'm David Barnes. I'm speaking to you this morning as the county treasurer. Yesterday morning, Mr. Herzog and I discussed a very serious matter, and I am unfortunately in possession of some pretty indisputable information that there's somebody in the front of this room who's facilitated a theft of county funds, over $3,000 worth. And I believe that that person should be suspended. And Mr. Herzog and I discussed doing this in executive session, but I did not hear back from him, and I wanted to make sure that that topic was going to come up this morning in executive session.
Well, we can make sure it does. Would
Thank you very
join us?
much.
David Barnes, would you join us at that time?
Yes, I would, please.
It would be 1 o'clock.
At 1 o'clock? Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Presentations. Commissioner Pash, you're up. I love your blazer.
Yep, thanks.
Well, I'm not up. I am introducing to you Marine Corps Detachment 578 from Curry County. It is my honor to be a part of this detachment, and I have our Commandant standing in front of the microphone who will introduce himself and anyone else he chooses. But Marine Corps Detachment 578 is very active in the community, and it is aging, and we are looking for recruits for that to continue this. And the floor is yours, sir.
Good morning. My name is Bob Gilmore, and I'm the Commandant of Curry Detachment 578 Marine Corps League. We have a bunch of our people here with us. What the main gist of this is to explain a little bit about the Marine Corps League, what we try to do, and to get any help that we can to help our county forward itself. I'm going to read the mission statement of the Marine Corps League. The mission of the Marine Corps League is to promote the interests and to preserve traditions of the United States Marine Corps, strengthen the fraternity of Marines and their families, serve Marines, FMF corpsmen, FMF chaplains who have worn the Eagle, Globe, and Anchor, and foster the ideals of Americanism and patriotic volunteerism. What we do. The Marine Corps League is proud to support our Marines in many areas. We have 10 divisions covering 48 departments or states and over 1,140 detachments in communities across the country. We support the Toys for Tots efforts, working with the Marine Corps Reserve and the Toys for Tots Foundation to raise millions of dollars for the youth of America, collect and distribute millions of toys all across the nation. The Marine Corps League provides funeral honors, support to over 10,000 funerals per year. This support allows the Marine Corps, active and reserve, to focus more on their resources on mission preparation. The Marine Corps League sponsors the Marine Corps Scholarship Foundation, Semper Fi Fund, Navy Marine Corps Relief Society, Max Marines, and the Young Marines. We have several scholarship award programs, including the Merchant Marine Academy Marine, Honor Graduate, Marine Corps University, Lieutenant Lejeune Leadership Award, Delta Dental Scholarship, and college scholarships through the Marine Corps League Foundation. One of the most critical missions is assisting traditional Marines and their families in the support of the Marine Corps and the Marine for Life program. With our partners at the Marine Corps Association and Foundation, we produce the Marine military expositions, including Modern Day Marine Expo, Marine Corps West Expo, and the Marine Corps South Expo. The Marine Corps League produces a quarterly publication called the Simplify Magazine. We have many programs supporting our Marines and their families and our community. Veteran service officers, scouting, Eagle Scout program, Marine Rose program, POW, MIA resemblance, rifle and pistol competition matches, volunteer assistant with the veterans and service units of this community, and color guards. We're here in Curry County. We used to be called Curry County Detachment once, all the way from Cruz Bay South. We divided that in about 94 or 5, something like that. and we honored one of our members who had passed away, Calvin Murphy, and named the detachment Calvin Murphy Detachment. We have approximately 48 members now. It's like all service organizations, it's down. People are not getting involved. We try to have a goal, and we look forward to having younger people join the Marine Corps League. Unfortunately, that doesn't happen. We have 3 good young Marines right now in the detachment, but they also have the Boy Scouts for their children, Little League, their schooling. Usually, people don't get involved in the Marine Corps League until they're 50 years old, when their kids are out of the nest, and they start looking at the nostalgia of the Marine Corps. We wish we could have more young people. We don't. But we need any people that are former Marines to let us know if you would like to work. There's many things we do. We have different officers, commandant, senior commandant, vice commandant, judge advocate, paymaster, adjutant, chaplain, sergeant arms, newsletter editor, web sergeant. And then there's other people appointed throughout the year to serve. Now, any regular member Marine, Navy corpsman, or chaplain who has served with the Marine unit, referred to as the FMF corpsman, that have worn or have been awarded the Eagle, Globe, and Anchor can be regular members of the Marine Corps League. We also have associate members, all other persons nominated and elected by the detachment. So anybody can become an associate member if they have the desire to follow what we try to do and to go out in their community. But anybody can do this. They have to be approved by the membership of the league. I'd like to bring up one thing, if I could just step forward here.
Of course.
What are the...
And it's got our veteran service officer and his phone number on it.
What that's
Tony
for,
Valley.
What that's for is...
Sure glad you didn't pull the pin. Buddy.
Right. But one of the reasons I did that was we all know, especially you folks up there, how hard it is to work in a community. We all have the same problem. You see these guys here, they're the ones that mostly support our detachment. We have more members, but a lot of them won't get off their fannies and do anything, like everything else. But what you have to do, along with the hard work, we have to have fun with it too. Because if you're not having fun and not enjoying it, then it's not worthwhile. With that, I would take any questions you may have, and then we're off to our next major project, which is something important, and that's to go out to Indian Creek and support the county.
I'd just like to make a couple of comments additional to yours, and that is to the community out there. If you're going to watch this or read this in our papers, you know, as Commandant said, anyone can join this organization. And for those of you that are sitting at home right now wondering if there's something that you can do to give back to your community some, this is a great organization. Like it was stated, you know, they do Toys for Tots Drive that is immeasurable. You cannot believe. They actually fill the room in the bottom of the Elks Club full of toys by the end of the year to give away to kids. It's a fun organization. I belong to one organization other than this county board and my foundation, and this is the one that I belong to, the Marine Corps League. Again, you don't have to be Marines, normal citizens, and then we have Army, we have Navy, Air Force, Coast Guard. Everyone can join this organization.
Somebody has to do the work.
Exactly.
Back to the normal citizens.
But it's also a lot of fun. We do picnics, we do get-togethers. A lot of you have probably seen sometimes at flag raisings on holidays. These guys will go out and do the gun salutes and raise the flag, and a lot of the patriotic things that grew this nation into what it is today. So if you just have an urge to want to get out and do something and join a great organization, these guys are all really old. And we need some more mid-group guys, 40, 50, 60 years old that can join this organization and have some fun, get your families involved in it, and just help your community. It's a great way to give back, and I would urge anyone to do that and to contact our Commandant, and I guess we can put something up.
Yes, we have on our Facebook, we have a Facebook page, And you can go on there and you see who to contact, but my phone number is 541-251-4167. Call me. If I can't answer a question, we've got several people here that can. So what we'll do is get you with someone and answer your question, but we'd love to have you come out. We meet once a month at the bistro down at the ocean, the beachfront bistro, at noon on usually the third Saturday of the month. That changed a couple times because we have a picnic and a few things, but it's always posted. But you can go on the website. If you have any questions, please call us or contact any of these guys in red. Some of them, like Sam there, he slips a little bit, but that's all right. That's all right.
Sam's a little slippery, I know that.
But any
We
one
knew
of them
that
can
was
answer.
coming, Sam Vitale.
Right. He's the one that actually keeps us going. That's the one Army guy. Well, we got one Navy man back there. We've got an Army guy here. And then I didn't even see him because he was gone. We have our senior vice commandant, who is now called the Bionic Man. He's had a shoulder replaced. He's had his veins replaced and everything. And he's still going at it. But he's a great fisherman and does a lot for the community. So I was going to have him speak, but he told me he's going to whip me if I did. So. Okay, have any other questions?
Hang on. Matt Hall?
Yes, sir.
Please.
541-251-4167.
And what's the Facebook site?
Marine Corps League.
Marine Corps League, okay.
Bob,
Sir.
we'll have if Commissioner Pash is okay, we'll have a moment of silence here in just a moment. But I wanted to ask you, just a comment on, still in a couple of you this morning, the Marine Corps League in May, Memorial Day of 2018, at the Brookings City Hall, read every single name of the Oregonians that were killed in Vietnam.
Excuse me, that's Marine Corps League assisted in that,
Yes.
but it was put on by the Vietnam veterans.
Thank you. Well, everybody did great, and I'll never forget that a young mother with two sons, probably 15 and 10, had her sons get up and read a couple of those names, and it was a continual rotation of to read. I believe it was 170 names, maybe more.
More than that, it was.
Yeah.
There's quite a few of them, and everybody that can, from the community, can go up and honor one of their relatives or something. But the Vietnam veterans, they actually put that on. The Marine Corps League assists, and we do the firing afterwards too. So.
That was the best part. No, but it was a tremendous day, and to read every single name of those men that we lost during that war, Oregonians, I'll never forget it. And you had a tremendous part in that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else, Commissioners?
I just want to make a comment. You know, a lot of people don't realize what it takes to join the service and give to your country. And I would also like you all to realize what these men here and women in our county have given to this nation. We are probably the largest per capita veteran suicide in the state. And basically, we lose veterans every day nationwide. I believe it's 1 an hour nationwide. A veteran an hour commits suicide. So get involved in these groups if you're veterans. It's a great group to get involved in. I happened to, believe it or not, last night I watched Rules of Engagement. And I was at Camp Lejeune for part of my tour, and Childress was out of Camp Lejeune, 2nd Marine Division, and I can't believe some of the, I never went active in Nam, but I watched that movie last night, and you want to watch a good movie and see what these people went through, watch a movie like Rules of Engagement and understand what everyone gives to protect this nation. And I just want to stand up and applaud you guys. I just thank you.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Another good movie, if you haven't seen it, is Taking Chance.
Yeah.
It's about a Marine officer that takes a body from coming back from the service to his hometown. And if you can watch that and don't shed a tear, and just go out and do something yourself, because that's
Will you lead us in a moment of silence? And that's for all the military heroes who have gave and sacrificed so much.
Attention on deck. And cover.
Thank you, Bob.
Cover.
One more applause.
And for you guys,
Hoorah! Hoorah!
thank you
Right,
very much.
Tally, here comes a grenade.
There you go. Typical Army, dropped it.
Oh, no.
He fell on it. He was simulating. that
Yes, he
fell
was.
on it.
Beth Barker Hidalgo and Diana Cooper, please.
Give these old guys a minute to
Thank
get out.
you.
Tony Valley.
Thanks, brother.
It's been a pleasure.
Thanks, brother.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll talk soon.
Hi, good morning, Commissioners.
Hey, I want to welcome you here first. You sent me, Beth, you sent me a note last night that says, we have testing events occurring this week and next. If the results are similar to last month, it should help lower our positivity rate and hopefully keep us in moderate and out of extreme risk category.
Yes.
I see you, according to the email, you were working late. And Diana, the work you guys do is just tremendous. Your focus is on community health improvement planning and ensuring alignment with the state health improvement plan. Boy, we need to keep mentioning that. Ms. Barker Hidalgo will present this process, outcome, and outpost to the BOC. Ms. Cooper, Director of the Brookings Homeless Task Force, will present on the goals of the task force, steps taken to date, outcomes, and outputs. And thank you for your emails. They're just excellent content and very insightful, much appreciated. So,
Thank you.
Carry away. Thanks for coming, Beth.
Sure, thank
And
you.
all you do.
Commissioners and Chair. Yes, I hopefully JJ was able to get you folks either the link to the State Health Improvement Plan and the actual Curry County Health Improvement Plan so that you have an opportunity, not today obviously, but please take a look through both of those plans because it aligns, both plans align from the state to the county and then down to the boots on the ground, the work that's being done in the community. So the CHIP vision is we are a community-based coalition of individuals, organizations focused on making meaningful changes to issues that affect health and healthy living in Curry County. I have a question. How many of you folks have heard the phrase social determinants of health? And okay, good. Well, it's an opportunity to educate. Social determinants of health are all of the things that once a person leaves their doctor's office, it's how that impacts their overall health. So if they're not housed or they're not stably housed, it increases stress. If they're struggling at work with an issue, or if their kids are having trouble in school, all of these other issues that can point towards a person's overall health can have an impact on their ability to navigate our community and the services and everything that would improve their social determinants of health. And so part of the work that we do is address outside the office of the doctor's office, providing navigation in the community to support services, social services that are available to folks. I often hear in our community from providers, and even I'm guilty of saying it myself, we lack resources. And what I have found in the last couple of years, and especially since this young lady's come on the scene, is that we don't really lack. I mean, we'd love to have more resources, obviously. We'd like to have more folks involved in this kind of work, but we do have resources. They do exist. And what I think would be helpful is if more folks were engaged in this type of work and understanding what our Curry Health Improvement Plan is all about. So let's talk about that. Focus areas of our plan, there are 7. Behavioral health is a focus area. There is a work group that meets monthly to discuss behavioral health and specifically to improve access, integration, and delivery of behavioral health and addiction services. One of the ways that we're addressing the lack of resources in Curry County is to offer the Curry Homeless Coalition got a grant from Curry Health Foundation in 2020 to pay for people to go to peer support specialist training. That's a 40-hour certificate course. And typically we recruit people with lived experience. So people that have had experience with substance use disorder, for example, whether it's alcohol, it's drugs, it's eating disorder, it's shopping, it doesn't matter. The addictive personality is the underlying, and behavioral health and behavioral modification changes is where we focus, that underlying attention to, because we can get you to stop, we can get you to go to detox and get you to sober up, but now what? You may, in many cases, people will just transfer that addictive personality to something else, whether it's drugs or, again, eating, shopping. It's a behavior mod that needs to occur. And peer support specialists are trained to walk alongside people who are navigating substance use disorder and or mental illness and help them navigate. So we're building that capacity as we speak. We have 2 people from Columbia Care that are jumping into a training starting Thursday. That's all online on Zoom. Rogue Retreat out of Medford is delivering that training. So we'll have 2 more people that have been certified in PSS. We have enough to pay for 8 more participants in that 40-hour course. And we're looking for candidates. There's a training every other month out of Rogue Retreat in Medford, and it's all online. So nobody has to travel. We get to keep our travel costs and lodging costs at a minimum. So other focused areas, oral health. I don't know if you've noticed, but we've got a new clinic popping up in Port Orford. City of Port Orford has never had a dentist. That clinic is going to house a hygienist to begin with. And a hygienist on steroids is what I hear from Laura McKean at All Care. So she can do just a little bit more than just, exams and cleanings. Or he shouldn't be. Let me not put it just.
Okay.
So we're increasing access to oral health in Curry County. And so we have food and nutrition. Food security is a huge issue right now. And it was an issue pre-COVID. It's not COVID didn't cause food insecurity in Curry. But so there's a group that's focusing on food and nutrition. There's youth and seniors, workforce and economic development. I'd like to talk about that a little bit. We have large employers in Curry County. The Mill, Curry Health Network, all 3 school districts are the 3 top, I believe, employers in Curry County. I would like for our economic development director to maybe focus on engaging with those employers and finding out if there's some opportunity for them to step into the housing crisis conversation. I'll tell you a brief story. Back in the 70s, my dad owned a business in Provincetown, Massachusetts, a tourist community on the coast. In the 70s, his staff, it was an inn and a restaurant. And his staff, he found out some of them were camping in tents because they couldn't afford to rent in that community. We have the same problem here. And part of the property that he owned included an old barn. He hired a contractor. He converted the barn into dormitory-style housing, and boom, some of his employees that wanted it had a safe, stable place to put their head at night, and they were ready to come to work and be productive the next day. So I would ask that we task our economic development director in that engagement with our employers and possibly bringing that information to the housing committee that the county now has. Thank you for that. In August of 2019, the county recognized the housing crisis, and here we are in March now of 2021, but in January you established a housing committee. And I would ask that housing committee consider the economic development piece of our housing crisis that we're experiencing right now. I have brought a guest with me. I don't want to take up all the time me talking. I can stand here and tell you all kinds of statistics, but he has a real life story that he would like to share with you. The last focus area is housing and homelessness, and we do meet the first Friday of every month via Zoom, and we are watching the legislative session very closely right now. There's HB 2100 that's on the table. There's a lot of consternation back and forth on that bill. CAP agencies are ORCA, they're against. Those of us who would like to have direct access to funding for emergency housing from Oregon Housing Community Services are supportive of HB 2100. And there are several other bills that are on the table in this session that could very well positively impact our ability to create space for those very difficult development projects, the supportive housing and subsidized housing projects that we desperately need in Curry. Lastly, I've got 3 families. 3 of them are still hanging in their motels, 1 here in Gold Beach, 2 down in Brookings, working. Cannot find a place to rent that they can afford, even with subsidies. 1 family has a housing choice voucher. Their voucher value is too low for our environment. And we're working with our housing authority to try to get them to go through the regional office and the Washington office to increase those values of our vouchers for our community. And I'm going to turn this over to Kyle and let him tell you his story.
Hello, Chairman and everybody. My name is Kyle DeWitt Tischler. I'm from a small town in Georgia, but we moved out here.
Kyle,
Could you pull that other microphone
thank
up?
you.
And then you can speak into that microphone. It's a little bit better. You can pull it up a little higher.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can
you hear me
also
now?
take your mask off if you like. Yeah, just pull it right up about 4 inches maybe. There you go. You can take your mask off if you like.
Okay. My name is Kyle Tischler. Kyle DeWitt Tischler is my full name. I moved up here in 2018 with my parents, and I had suffered in my life from a mental illness and was rebuilding my life at that time. I came out here and, I'm blessed to have a nice truck. I'm blessed to have things in my life, but it's things that I've worked for. In my life, I've worked for car dealerships making 6 figures. I've worked for pizza places making $12 an hour. I've kind of worked all over the board, and I've always worked, and I think that's something that was instilled in me by my father and his father before him. I was raised right, and I'm a go-getter. But I was blessed with a kid this year, and with everything going on in the housing crisis, what I can tell you, what I've seen is places that are just too much to rent. With the bills, you're looking at everything like you're living in California for about $2,000 is what you're basically getting on the housing market now, and it's becoming so short because we don't have a lot of apartments, we don't have a lot of ways to rent out like spaces for homes, or there's a lot of development that would have to be done, I understand. And I'm not big and fancy, I'm not in the meetings all the time, but I'm a working man. That's what I do. I got back problems like everybody else does. I got my own problems, but one thing I've done is try to provide for my family, and it's getting hard. It's getting real hard when there's no place to put your family. And luckily she's with her mom and dad, but I don't know how long their landlord will like that, and I don't know how long until I find a landlord that'll let me in. It's just at one of those points. I'm sure we've all been there when the time's been where we got to keep going, and I'm at one of those points, and I've been at that point since COVID hit. I'm hoping that with what you guys are doing, that it keeps forward in the right direction, that we get the ability to go back to work and make more money and things like that. But even making money and me about to have a full-time job, I'm still looking like getting back into the workforce, like how am I supposed to afford with, with work and everything and how it's going, and making $2,000 a month is basically what an average man makes in society right now that's starting out, how to keep going and what procedures would be. And I don't know what that would be, but for me, I just would like to see a kind of plan, because Curry community and the Curry place, all up and down Gold Beach is so beautiful. It's such an inviting place, and everybody's so great. So My story is this: I've been a recovering addict, been in recovery for 6 months. I've been doing that for 5 years, actually, in total, and I had 1 relapse. And, you know, you see your whole life can change really vividly for some people, and some people can continue on a certain path. But in those times, there are little things, like she mentioned, that can help us, that are actually really big things, which is getting sober, staying on with behavioral health, mental health, physical health, and everything, to where you can find doctors, find places, and find resources to get healthy, to be healthy. And I feel like everybody that has spoke today has kind of been on a different notion of seeing everything come back to work and everybody come back to a normal environment where the kids can go out and people can enjoy that. But I think all these problems have to be met in order for us to get back to it, and especially the housing problem, where we have people like me. There's people with more kids that have 2 kids, 3 kids in these hotels, and they have nowhere to go, and they've got money coming in. They're working full-time jobs, and that's something that is very, very hard to do with 2 kids, 3 kids, even 1 kid. And I'm sure you guys have all been there in your past, so I'm going to leave it at this. Thank you guys for hearing me out, and that's pretty much all I had to say, but just keep that in mind next time.
Boy or girl?
Boy.
Congratulations. And that's your first?
Yeah, 2 months old. He's beautiful.
Yeah.
Way to go.
Thank you.
We'll do everything we can.
Well, that's all I had to say.
What was your name again, please?
Kyle DeWitt Tischler.
Thank you, Kyle.
Thank you.
Anything, board?
No.
Okay. Ms. Cooper, please join us. Pull that one mic down there.
Is that good? Actually, hold on.
Perfect, right there. Whoop, no.
It's like hard to...
It's alive.
Right there.
Well, I can't get it to stay up. There we
There
go.
you go.
Okay. We're on now. So Diana Cooper, and thank you, Chair and Commissioners. So I wanted to come kind of just give you an overview of what's going on down there in South County, and kind of piggyback off of what Beth had talked about with the social determinants, since that is our main focus with the task force. So the social determinants of health are conditions in the environment in which people are born, live, learn, work, play, worship, and age that affect a wide range of health functioning and quality of life outcomes and risks. So some of these are availability of resources like safe housing, local food sources, access to healthcare services, quality of education and job training, availability of community-based resources and support, transportation, public safety, and then social supports, access to media and emerging technologies. So these are kind of all of the things that make up a community's health. And so, and like Beth said, we do have these things. We just don't necessarily have a streamlined process for all of them. And they don't always all communicate together. So part of what the task force does, our mission statement is strengthening our community through outreach, education, and advocacy. And so we do a lot of that by hitting the streets. We have a 4 community health workers on our team, and funded through the CCOs. And we do, we are stationed at St. Timothy's when they're open. We hit the streets when they're not. We do home visits, whether your home is on the street or whether your home is a home, or whether it's a motel. So we provide referrals. We provide advocacy. We go to appointments with folks. We meet them at hospitals. We go to wherever it is that they need to go. And we also help with a lot of paperwork and forms and things like that. We help people fill those out because sometimes they can be quite burdensome when you're trying to access services. For instance, I think our VSPIDAT here is like 22 pages, and that is what you fill out to access services here through through our ORCA. So we help with a lot of that. I do have, and I don't know if I can pass these out or not. Can I? Oh, okay.
Make sure the commissioners get them first. Oh, thank you. Thank you.
He's a sacrificing guy.
Thank you, Diana.
Thank you.
I think actually Brad, probably better for Brad to have.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
Okay.
I did bring 5, but I brought one for me. So, so what you're looking at here, first off, is our pit count. So for the Curry County pit count, I did, the task force did the pit count down in Brookings. And while this is an odd year, and what I mean by 2021, it's not a requirement for the ORCA or for the continuums of care to provide that pit count on odd years, but we wanted to go ahead and capture that data. So the task force, and this data is just for Brookings Harbor area and up in the river roads and BLM roads. So I do want to stress that this is not a full picture. And even for Brookings, this is not a full picture. So we did outreach and data collection for the Brookings Harbor area, the local river roads, and all of the camps that are far up in the BLM roads. And what we found is that when you see down here where it says occurrences of homelessness, so these are the most important numbers for us as the task force, because this actually shows how much growth we had in 2020 as far as homelessness. So you can see in 2018, we had 15 individuals roughly who lost stable housing, and this is what we're capturing for last year. In 2019, we had 20, so that's a 25% increase. In 2020, we had 51 individuals lose stable housing. That's a 155% increase in homelessness. And this is not, this data is, this is what we're seeing. We're seeing our community health workers are working, to the max. And these are not, most of these folks are not people who have been previously homeless before. So one of our most common occurrences was hearing, "This isn't me." When we would do "This isn't me. I'm not homeless. This is just an issue we're having right now." So in Curry County, well, in Brookings, a person is homeless for an average of 21 months. So if you become homeless, you're looking at possibly up to 2 years before you gain access to housing. And obviously there's outliers there. So 60% of the folks that we interviewed are from Brookings. They have family there, they were born there, they're from here. And we have 56% of those have an income of some sort. So these aren't just people that are out on the streets with nothing going on. They either have jobs, many of them are disabled and on fixed incomes. So our biggest task right now is finding housing for folks, obviously. When it comes to medical providers, we're able to navigate that system. We're able to find them a medical provider. We're able to get them in, even if it's months out. When it comes to, education, there's resources for that and making sure their kids are enrolled in school. But even still, that's quite the hardship, living in a motel as a child and going to school. When I was, shortly before my husband and I got clean and went into treatment 7.5 years ago, we were living in a motel. And my daughter was in kindergarten, and she missed over half of that year through various things. So even with the support with the school system, she missed that half of that year. And we had to withdraw her early because we couldn't continue finding rides for her, even with the bus routes, because we were constantly having to move hotels a lot. There was so much gap in there that it was just easier to not send her. So, and I realize we're in COVID and a lot of things are remote anyway, and that presents a whole new issue because we're talking about people in a rural area who don't have, even if you gave them access to the internet, their connection is so poor that they can't function like that. And when me personally, sitting down with 4 kids with 4 different programs, one on an IEP with 3 different teachers, it's insane. Could you imagine doing that in a motel room? Could you imagine doing that in a tent? So, what I really want to point out here is that we have experienced a huge increase. And it's not that these numbers are going to even out unless we do something. They don't just even out. So we will need to address this housing crisis, or we're going to continue seeing these numbers rise. Right now, the other thing that I forwarded to you or gave to you was a program in Portland. And so a lot of what we're seeing too is people who have mental health issues and mental health concerns, behavioral health and substance use. And because of COVID and because of some restrictions there, we're having a difficult time getting them into treatment. And then when we do, We have been successful getting quite a few folks into treatment and alcohol centers, but they return to nothing. They return and hit the streets again. And it's not as though we can just send them off and then they're good over there. There's no housing anywhere. You know, with the fires over in Jackson County, we saw an increase in September with folks coming over here. Not a huge increase, but for our numbers, yeah, it's huge. So we can't rely on other communities to take our folks. We've tried that. They return. And sometimes they return with more trauma than they left with, because this is their social support network. These are where their friends, these are where their family is at. So this Portland Street response I wanted to just throw out there to you guys. This is something that the task force is looking at and to model after, and possibly partnering with either the county or the city to provide this crisis response, because we have an increase, a substantial increase in our jail system right now of people who need to engage in the mental health system. They're not criminals. They suffer from mental health disorders, and we don't have access to those, so they end up in the criminal justice system. We think that there's a better way. We know there's a better way. And so I give this to you to look over as another option. I think that, let me make sure I covered everything. Yeah, that was basically it. Do you have anything?
I'm good. Mr. Herzog, please.
An update maybe on the rogue retreat? Is that...
Project Turnkey?
Yeah.
The news is there's no news.
Okay.
The news that I received recently is that we haven't heard back from Oregon Community Foundation at this time for that transitional housing project.
Okay.
Ms. Cooper, before you leave, I've asked you in the past, and maybe I'm more looking for an update, the percentage of homeless in South County that you deal with, that you interact with, that are actually Curry citizens. Do you have even a general number there?
Well, I mean, that's a little bit broad, but I would suggest 100% of them are Curry citizens because they're here. But I know what you mean. Yeah. I mean, like I said, 60% are from here, grew up here, or they have family, have been here forever, and they're coming home. But I would say that there's very few that are just passing through, very few. Some of those because the shelters shut down around the state with COVID. So we had more than 50% of our shelters shut down around the state. And then some of those reopened at half or a quarter capacity. So we saw a lot of influx through that as well. And I don't believe that we're going to see an outflux in the same way. We will see some leave, again, when things open back up, I'm sure. But with weather the way it is elsewhere in the state, we're going to have some of those that are here to stay. So.
Thank you again. Stay up there for just a minute. Beth, come on up, please.
Yeah, I just wanted to follow on and let you know, I had heard from one of our CCOs that our Project Turnkey is in phase 2. But what they're looking for is a fiscal sponsor locally. Rogue Retreat already has their plate full with their Medford operation. They're now broke ground in Grants Pass for Foundry Village, so they're supporting that project as well. OCF, Oregon Community Foundation, is feeling like maybe they need some help with this project, so there's a search for fiscal sponsorship in the community to have a local support for the project. And I just wanted to say, when we do have projects like this that come forward and opportunities to increase emergency or transitional housing, we would respectfully request that we bring you those opportunities, and maybe we could get a letter of support from the commissioners for these types of projects down the road. That would be real helpful. And I wanted to recognize Kyle and thank him for standing here and telling his story, and thank Diana for coming up as well, and thank you all for listening. And
we will gladly look for that opportunity to support any way we can, especially with a letter. Kyle, congratulations on your recovery and your dedication to your family, recognition of your parents and grandparents. So thank you all very much for. We worked for 2 months to get you here. We finally did.
One thing I can say, I was involved.
You have to come up to the mic real quick, please.
I was involved in the Hope Village retreat at South of Rogue Retreat in Medford. They were very supportive, and they had a very good structure, so I would definitely look over that program for out here.
The leader of that program is a very good friend of mine, Chad Comas from Medford, and he's going to make a presentation to both all three city councils and the commissioners on just easing some fears that citizens have in dealing with and helping. So thank you all very much. We'll look forward to being with you when that presentation comes. We're going to take a break here. Thank you all. See you back at just a little bit before 10:30 if we could. Recess there. Microphones, yeah. We concluded with presentations. Item number 6 on our agenda, consent agenda. Nobody had any additions or corrections there. 6A, cancel the MOU, memo of understanding with Event Center in Gold Beach. 6B, reappoint 2 members to the Planning Commission. 6C, reappoint 1 member to the Coos Curry Housing Authority. 6D, appoint 3 members to the Lipsick Local Public Safety Coordinating Council Board. 6E, acceptance of Boating Safety Advocate Program Grant. 6F, order authorizing contract with Robert Bogert, DBA, Critical Areas Consulting for hydrological engineering work at the Port Orford landfill. I understand you took a visit there the other day.
I did.
Thank you, Commissioner. 6G, adopt a position description for an existing position, road foreman, Curry County Road Department. 6H, promotion of an employee, Curry County Road Department, Mr. Wolford. Finally, 6I, engagement letter, participation formula, class action lawsuit regarding foreclosure processes. And Council Huddle is returning. I really appreciate the incredible work he's done there. So, Board, if there's nothing else there, item 7A.
Well, we have to, I make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second that.
Good job, guys. I'm going to go back to page 1.
Yep.
Any further discussion? Call for the question, Mr. Jesuit.
Commissioner Pash.
Aye.
Vice Chair Herzog.
Yes.
Chair Boyce.
Yes, thank you,
Motion
Board.
carried unanimously.
Gives me a lot of pleasure. We've had a lot of discussion on this. The Curry County Proclamation, Self-Injury Awareness Month. Superintendent Tim Wilson and the leader of our Curry County Suicide Awareness and Prevention Committee, Gordon Clay. So we have, as we said earlier today, and after your public comment, both you and Superintendent Wilson, we've spent some good time in this. You and Mr. Wilson have just been incredible to get this right and send that note around the state of Oregon. And I feel it has been and is a chance for Curry County to lead, and it's been very important. It'll just take a moment, Board. If it's okay, I'll read this proclamation.
Chair, if you don't mind, while you read that, I read it from the packet already. I left some in my office. I'm going to run and get that while you're reading it.
Certainly. I'll talk loud enough so you can hear. And I know you already read
The
it.
speakers are on outside, I'm nearly positive.
Proclamation for the Curry Self-Injury Awareness Month. Whereas there is a growing need for concern and awareness about self-injury and its devastating effect on those afflicted with this disorder. And whereas self-injury, also called self-harm, self-inflicted violence, or self-mutilation, is a coping mechanism used by an estimated 3 million Americans, mostly adolescents. And whereas self-injury is seldom talked about and often misunderstood, leading to those who self-injure being treated unfairly or insensitively by those who misjudge. And whereas self-injurers, despite public perceptions, are generally not psychotic and present present little danger to others. And whereas effective treatments for self-harm do exist, although many professionals may not be aware of them. And whereas raising public awareness, I'm going to repeat that, whereas raising public awareness of the facts about self-injury will help dispel the feats, myths, and taboos that surround the subject and that make it difficult for people who self-injure to obtain effective help. Therefore, be it resolved that the Curry County Board of Commissioners hereby declare March 2021 as Self-Injury Awareness Month to focus attention on this growing problem and join the Curry County Suicide Awareness and Prevention Council to urge all citizens and professionals to increase their awareness of the truths about self-injury, thus allowing people who self-injure to receive fair and sensitive treatment. Submitted by consideration by Tim Wilson, Curry County Suicide Awareness and Prevention Council, February 9th, 2001. We probably should change that date to today. Board, any comments, please? This is an action item.
I make a motion that we accept the proclamation of Self-Injury Awareness Month.
Second?
Thank you, Commissioners. Any further discussion? Call for the question, Staff Jesuit.
Commissioner Pash.
Aye.
Vice Chair Herzog.
Yes.
Chair Boyce.
Aye.
Motion carried unanimously.
Gordon, thank you again very, very much.
Thank you, Commissioner. We appreciate it.
It's great awareness. I hope the public hears. I know they do. Item 7B, guardrail repair, quote, award with signature authority to Roadmaster Richard Christensen. Welcome.
Good morning, Board of Commissioners. Richard Christensen, Curry County Roadmaster. I'm here today on a couple items. The first one is replacing guardrails that were hit by vehicles in 3 areas. 2 were covered by insurance. 1 was a hit and run. But it's quite a bit of money, $19,000, and it's about $45 a lineal foot, which is well within what we plan on of $60 per lineal foot. Road forces will be doing the traffic control and haul away of the damaged material, so that kind of brought our cost down a little bit, and just looking for you to support the Roadmaster signing the contracts on this repair.
Does that have to be a motion? Oh,
Yes.
excuse me.
Commissioner Pash?
I have a question. Was this in rural area?
Yes, yes. Well, 1 is on Pedroli.
The hit and run one is the one I'm...
Yeah, and it's an S-curve, and it's been a couple of years ago, and 2 were up on North Bank, Checo River Road below Gardner Ridge. They're both in the same location, on the same rail. It's about 1,000 feet long, but it's either end. And what we've ran into is we've been trying to get quotes on these for the last year or so,
Right.
but with all the fires throughout the state, these guardrail companies are really busy. And so what we were able to do is, we had the FEMA the FEMA project up there on Gardner Ridge. That project's being close to be completed here. And next week, the guardrails are coming in, and we were able to get them to piggyback on that, our guardrails.
To fix this, okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. That's all I have.
So my question was, do we approve this
Need a motion.
by motion? So I would make that
Roadmaster Christian, one quick question, if I may. Comment, that's $45 a linear foot?
Right.
That's pretty...
It's a pretty fair price.
From what I know about it, that sounds like pretty reasonable. Thank you.
Right.
Anything else you want to add?
No, we're just fortunate we were able to piggyback on their mobilization and for the other project.
Perfect. Any other question?
No.
You want to make a motion, sir?
I do. I'll make a motion that we accept item 7C, 7B,
Mm-hmm.
guardrail repair quote, award signature for Richard.
I'll second.
Last chance for discussion. Roll call, please, sir.
Commissioner Pash.
Aye.
Vice Chair Herzog.
Yes.
Chair Boyce.
Yes?
Motion carried unanimously.
Thank you, Board. Item 7C, Roadmaster signature authority to purchase, this is a good one, this is a big one.
Yes.
To purchase and have Blue Star Gas install a new Kohler 38 RCLB propane generator, the Cape Blanco Emergency Communication Tower.
Yes, well, this one here is, we've been having plenty of problems with our emergency communication tower backup generators. They're diesel, and these new diesel fuels, they don't hold up. And these generators don't run all the time, and they're gelling up the fuel systems. And currently, the people we have service these generators, they mobilize in from somewhere in Washington State just for them to get to the job sites, like $1,600 with their travel time and mileage rates. And so I started working with Department of State Lands. They're helping in emergency service on replacing all 4 generators for $200,000, and that process took us about 8 months, but that grant process fell through. And so we have one that's completely decommissioned right now that we're paying $1,100 a month for a backup generator through United Rental, and it's killing us. And by the time we get done here, we're gonna have $5-6 grand tied up into this backup generator. So I wanted to look at this as having a local vendor. So I reached out to 3 local vendors that handle generators, and one, Blue Star Gas, they not only install them, they maintain them. And if we could get internet to the facility, it'll be under telemetry where sheriff, road department, or you could go online and see if the station is filled up with fuel, with propane, which never goes bad, like diesel goes bad, and the equipment is in operations. And so what we're going to do is the road department's going to demo the old generator, pour new concrete pads for the new generator, the 2 500-gallon propane tanks. Blue Star Gas will, if you approve this, will come in and lay new gas lines into the new generator, and the road department will hire a local electrician to disconnect the old generator and reconnect the new generator. So we're going to try to use this process for the next 3 years to replace the other 3 generators. So I'm going to be putting this in my budget for next fiscal year, $25,000 a year for the next 3 years to get all 4 of these upgraded to propane.
So the total will be $100,000.
Yes, with just Blue Star Gas, but the other costs, I'm not sure how much it's going to cost for our work with our equipment and labor for construction and demolition and
Concrete pads.
And concrete pads.
You know, I know the towers have been a huge concern for all of us, but especially you, but just with propane-powered generation, I don't know how you could go wrong, and the life of them should be tremendously improved. And just one quick question, I'll defer to you, and then I'll ask a quick question.
Well, just a quick question for me is, what's the cost annually for because you're going to lease these from Blue Star?
Well, the propane tanks, and the annual cost for the propane tanks is $102 each. So, and to purchase them outright would be about $1,500. So, 7 years. Well, it'd be $3,000 for 2 tanks. So, 15 years. It'd be better to lease. They're in a corrosion environment out there on the coast. It'd be better just to pay that $200 a year.
Right. Thank you.
So I've had a lot of generator experience with my lodge because we had to produce our own power, and we were always dreaming of having propane someday, but the switchover cost, the transition was just tremendous. Who takes the responsibility? I know it's maintenance, but just so the public knows how often those maintenance people will go up and just test those. Is it once a month, once every other month? What's your procedure there?
Our shop mechanics and foremen, they go up and test them and check them out, and then with the propane, be much less. And not only that is that Blue Star Gas is local, and they have a program where they'll do full-blown maintenance 1 year time a year for $400 and go through that thing and keep it in good shape. And so the shop will no longer be going up there fueling anymore or maintaining it anymore. And one good thing also is for our shop to go fuel those tanks, it's like $4.50 a gallon, the old diesel ones where we take the diesel up there. Blue Star Gas will deliver the fuel at $2.50 per gallon. So we're saving a couple dollars a gallon on fuel cost with fuel that never goes bad.
Mr. Pat?
You're also saving your staff time to go up there and fill those tanks, the wear and tear on the equipment, the fuel on the equipment, all that stuff. So for $400 a year, you're going to be in the black on that.
Absolutely.
How big are tanks?
500. 2 500-gallon tanks, and will hold a total of 860 gallons. They don't fill them all the way. They'll be 430 gallons per tank. And the initial fill-up cost will be about $2,100.
So on the assumption that they won't be used that often, those tanks being 3/4 full will be there a long time.
Right.
Be full a long time.
Typically, they fill the tanks after they go down to 60%. And at 60%, they estimated those generators would run 5.5 days at 60%. And so, but if we know a situation's coming up, we could always ask them to go pre-fill. Like if we know a big storm's coming up, to top them off. and be proactive.
Very good. Anything else, Board?
I make a motion, we approve the Roadmaster Signature Authority for Blue Star Gas install.
Terrific.
I second that motion.
Thank you very
Go
much.
straight. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Don't move.
Yeah,
Because I was going to say, can we just go right to let K too? And
Well, we need to finish this.
yeah,
first.
but I mean,
Yeah, that's a good idea.
prior to, so Rich doesn't have to leave?
So you're going to stick around.
Okay.
Commissioners are unanimous on
I
that.
had 1 foot out the door.
Staff Jesuit, roll call, please.
Commissioner Pash.
Aye.
Vice Chair Herzog.
Yes.
Chair Boyce.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously.
So yes, if it's okay with the board, let's jump to item 7K, the waiver letter for Roadmaster Christensen.
Yeah,
Commissioner Pash?
Roadmaster Christensen sent me this yesterday. I printed it up for all of you to preview before the meeting, and then we put it on the agenda. It's a hold harmless request that for the Gardner Ridge that holds FEMA harmless for working on the road. And Mr. Christensen, if you want to expound on that, that's fine.
I did not receive a copy. Can I borrow one real quick?
I put it in your door yesterday at about 2 o'clock.
I don't know what
You
happened.
can see mine, I read it.
I do apologize. Yes, I did receive this.
Yeah. Just
Thank
a little
you.
background.
I was the South Coast lumber thing threw me, but my apologies. Go ahead.
Yeah, due to our Gardner Ridge Road slide repair project being a wintertime project, we reached out to FEMA on supporting us on an emergency bypass route around the job site in case it were to completely fail this winter, and we could use it as a detour route to help expedite construction of the slide repair. And so I brought that to the board, and the board approved the county to expend up to $85,000 to build this road on South Coast Lumber property, an old logging road. And we rocked it and graded, put a couple culverts in there, and so it was a fail-safe for our project. Well, right now, the project is 90% completed. All that's left to be done is pave the road, which takes place tomorrow. The guardrails go in on Monday next week. We plan on having a final walkthrough next week with a punch list item probably of road striping, because right now it'd be hard to stripe the road with the weather we're having, so that may take a while. But FEMA, because that logging road is not in the county right away, they wanted a letter from South Coast Lumber that we had permission for that. We provided that. We provided them that you had approved us doing the work as well. But they wanted a hold harmless agreement or letter saying the county would hold them harmless for anything on we did during our construction on that logging road. And so all this letter is you supporting the roadmaster to sign that letter of holding harmless the county holding the FEMA harmless from the county.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? Council Huddle is moving there for a second. No? Call for the question.
Commissioner Pash.
Yes.
Vice Chair Herzog.
Yes.
Chair Boyce.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously.
Just for the record, as risk manager, Rich Christensen did confer with me, and I agreed there's very little chance that this document will come back and bite us, so that's all.
Hey, thanks again for working on finding an alternate route. We all were living on pins and needles. I know you were with that one-lane road that could have went out any time. No other way out for those people, those families on Kate Road. And so, and kudos to the South Coast, the relationship you have with them and solving that problem. Thank you, Roadmaster Christensen.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Rich, would you let me know when they're going to do that next week, what day? And then I'll make maybe
The
drive up.
guardrails?
Yeah.
I will do. Right now it's scheduled for Monday.
Okay, I might come up and watch that.
Thank you.
Boy. Okay, item 7D, ordered designation back to the Curry Commissioners, the authority and responsibility to select Curry Park Camp host. Board, this is, well, I'll read this first. It's a necessary, in my opinion, to repeal the Curry Board of Commissioners 6320 County order designating Director of Operations the authority to select Curry County Park Camp hosts, following their interviews, background checks, and enter into a contract with those individuals. I think it's no surprise that I feel this needs to come back to the board. That's what the people put us here for, especially as you, Commissioner Herzog, are now serving as the Parks Liaison. And so I'd like to have the board consider working on that and making those selections, just like we are working towards being responsible for everybody we hire. So any discussion? Yes, sir.
I honestly don't think that this needs to come to the board, especially as the liaison for Camp Park hosts. They're not really an employee. It's a contract. They get a stipend for staying there. I've talked to the Parks director, and he's going to do a panel interview with other, and myself I might be included, might not, but then he would come to me, his liaison, and with a recommendation, and then that recommendation would come to the full board. I don't see where.
Are you promoting that we would have the final say in who is hired for our Parks representative?
But we won't be doing the interviewing and I don't know if hiring is actually is that the correct word, or?
It would be approving a contract.
Approving a contract. So it'd just be a contract that would be approved by the full board, but it would be kind of, Brad maybe can enlighten us.
So the current process is once applications are received for the camp host, the Parks does a panel interview, selects from that, and that panel selects from the applicants and brings it to the liaison commissioner as well as director of operations for signature of the contract. I would then notify the board that process has been taken place after the contract is signed.
So if I may, forgive me for interrupting. So as director of operations, you would bring after the panel discussion or interview, you would bring one person to us to approve?
Yes. Well, no, I'm sorry, let me back up.
Because let me forgive me again, but that's what happened and has been happening throughout essentially 2020. And we've had some not so good experiences that have resulted from that, because the board was taken out of that lead and that responsibility.
So you're saying that the past process has been that whoever the panel selects, they bring that to the board, and the board approves.
That's what has happened, and I'm promoting to this board that's a bad situation. That's a bad.
I guess I don't understand
system.
The ARS then, or the reason for this, because from what you said, it sounds like the board is already has that final say, and that wasn't my understanding. My understanding was that it's a contract that gets signed by the director of operations based on the advisement of the panel on who to hire.
Basically, we gave up the authority in the past practices on 6/3/20 to just have the director of operations follow through. And I'm saying that we're ducking our responsibility. We're not looking at the interviews. My ARS says to select Curry County Park camp hosts following interviews, background checks, and enter into a contract with individuals. After the board, along with the panel, if that's the way the board wants to go, that's the way it used to be done, makes that determination and makes that recommendation. Commissioner Pash?
Well, I like what Commissioner Herzog just said, that this panel comes together and picks. Let's say we have 3 applicants. They pick what they believe is the best applicant, and then they bring that to Director of Operations and the liaison commissioner, and then from that they approve that and then bring it before the board. I mean, that's a great process, because
it's a new process, though, correct, compared to what we've had in the past?
Well, that I wouldn't know that, but.
Well, I'm telling you, that's the way it was done before we reversed it last June, we had 3 park camp host couples in 6 weeks at Boyce Cove Park, and so that in itself is taking us out of the responsibility, and I have an issue with that, and I think we need to be very much involved so we can close those gaps. It doesn't matter whose fault it was or if there is any fault. It means that we need to be more involved, and that's the reason for this. And if we don't, then we'll be in the dark. And I had actually requested very, very strongly and respectfully that I wanted to be in on some of those interviews, and they were done before I even knew they were happening. And I was denied that responsibility. Yes, Commissioner Pash.
I guess I might have misstated, or maybe you misunderstood what I was saying. Is, in other words, once the panel has recommended one of those people, and the Director of Operations and the Liaison Commissioner both agree with that panel, for me it's more a consent agenda item than it is a discussion item. In other words, you've already got a panel that picked who they think is the best person. And then your Director of Operations reviews that as well as the Liaison Commissioner. That's a lot of eyes on that program as far as I'm concerned. And so for me, it would just be a consent agenda item. And if one of the other commissioners had an objection against that person, then it could be pulled and discussed. But I believe that once the panel has put someone on there, and your Director of Operations and Liaison Commissioner have approved that person, it just becomes a matter of formality.
What I want to offer you,
agenda.
We're complicating this. It's simple for the commissioners to be involved in all the interviews, and that's our responsibility, and I strongly feel that way. I don't know who in the world the panel is. I didn't know prior on a couple of different decisions, and I'm going to stand up for what I think our responsibility is. I know I've employed a lot of people in my day. I've done a lot of interviews. I think that has value. I think that's why the people put me here. I think you've employed a lot of people. You serve on boards. It's our responsibility to go through. That's just like other positions that we need to fill. We cannot be in a hurry. We learned some lessons here the last couple of months. We have to do our due diligence and our homework, and we need to be involved. I don't want to be taken out of that process, and in fact, I was. Yes, Director Rickard. Excuse me, Director Rickard. I'm sorry.
So I think we're unnecessarily complicating the process. The process we have is pretty simple, and the reason we have a Parks Director is to hire that person. Every department head hires their own the people underneath them, and this. So
you're just saying that they hire. Commissioners,
I'm sorry.
The commissioners are out of the loop, correct?
No.
Okay.
Let me clarify that. The director will select the person to be hired, do their own interviews, and then bring it before the board for that final approval.
Rubber stamp.
I don't see, and this is a simple contract between the park host, and again, that's why we hire the.
So who can I ask then?
Director to be responsible and to do that groundwork.
Okay, can you tell me who the past panel was? Because I honestly don't know, or who the future panel would be.
I cannot.
And who approved that?
Parks Director.
Yeah, it would be the Parks Director who approved it, and
approved the panel that did the interviewing.
I believe so.
Yeah. See, nobody knows for sure, and I don't hold that against you because
your Parks Director's here, sir. You could ask him.
He wasn't here at the time. He went through the panel, and that's how his job was. That's how he was selected. I don't know who that panel is.
I would also suggest then, if that is a concern, that the liaison commissioner be a part of that panel then, along with.
Well, that's a good start. That's a great start.
That was going to be my.
Council Huddle.
Thank you. I just want to read the current order that has the authorization of what is currently happening. There seems to be a lot of, we think this is being done. Here's what the order says. The Director of Operations have approval authority to select volunteer camp hosts and have signature authority to enter into an agreement following a background check. So really, it doesn't contemplate the director bringing any candidates to the board for approval. It delegates the authority to the Director of Operations. So I don't know that there's any current order by the board that says the director will then bring a camp host to the board for final approval. So I just want to make sure you guys know what the current status is of things. And that order, I think, came about in June of 2020.
June 3rd, yeah.
Yeah, 2020. So less
That's what I have here,
less than
yes.
a year ago.
Yeah, we all have it in front of us.
Okay, good. Oh, really? I didn't see it in my packet. Is it in?
Keep going.
Oh. Oh, there's 2 AGRSs.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I see. The the AGRS was a historical AGRS. Very good. Okay, thank you. I see why there. I thought we had just gone. I'd gone to the next item.
So, Commissioner Herzog, did you have something else?
No, and since it is kind of a point of contention or a hot button, if we could change that last part to hereby the order, instead of the orders the Director of Operations, I think, if we add in that liaison commissioner, I think that would suffice for me. And not only because I'm the commissioner.
Is that a motion?
Well, we've got your Parks Director up there.
Yeah, if we got questions for Anthony, this would be a good time.
Who's got a question for him? Okay.
Well, good morning, Commissioners. One of the things that was mentioned about the hire and termination, part of that process, that falls on the Director of Operations. The reason why they can fire or hire is because they are the one that are creating and drafting the contract. So they're the creator of the contract, and then they can terminate the contract that they created. So that's part of the hire and fire. So if somebody else is going to be taking that responsibility, they're going to be obligated to create those contracts as well, the legal contracts.
Thank
and
you.
We were talking about...
Thank you. One moment, please. So, the Director of Operation takes your place as liaison. That's what I'm hearing him say.
Yeah, but I think we can change that, right? I mean,
I hope
we
so.
have the opportunity.
That's the reason for this program, so the commissioners are not left in the dark. And yes, I'm going to go with Commissioner Pash, and then I'll come back to you. Okay. I'm sorry, then you, Mr. Rickard.
Again, I think we need to leave the Director of Operations in this, if not for nothing else, the contractual obligations are nice to have. I know County Council is also involved in that, but there's other parts to this as well with the Parks Director. I mean, we have a Parks Director for a reason. They are to oversee our parks and direct them in a manner that they see fit. And I don't know who the panel is that you'd like to embark on this with, but again, I think there's some conversation here that we are in agreement that a liaison commissioner be involved in that. That'd be great, and I think that's the next step in the process, is to have the Parks Director coordinate with our liaison commissioner on setting that panel up, so that we already have that ready to go, because we've got some parks to get some hosts into.
Okay, but the panel needs to come before the full board. It was not done in the past. It was picked at random, if I remember correctly. Director Rickard?
I was just going to say, in all my conversations with Tony about this process, it's never been mentioned that the liaison commissioner would be left out of it. He has always told me that he would consult with the liaison commissioner and Director of Operations on signing that contract. And as far as your comment you just made about the panel coming before the board, again, I'll repeat what Commissioner Pash just mentioned, which is we have a Parks Director, who we pay and employ to make all those decisions, so commissioners' times can be freed up for the other things that they need to be doing, and not be in the weeds like that.
So, do you have a motion, or do you want to table this?
Well, I think the Parks Director
No.
had another thing.
Do you have a motion?
No, sir.
Not yet.
No motion yet? Okay.
Sir,
Do you have something else?
Yeah, I
Do you have
suppose-
something else?
No, our Parks Director
Okay.
does, sir, and I can see that you have disdain for him, but he is an employee
Oh,
of this
stop
county.
it.
And, sir, you've been rude to him since he's been here.
No, that's,
You've cut him off several times, and let's leave it at that.
No.
I just ask that you notice
you
the Parks
just personally
Director.
did your verbal abuse again. I want you to stop that.
Okay, you're deflecting.
Okay?
You're deflecting.
Yeah.
Go ahead and deflect.
You
but it's
fired the
truth.
first shot, and I'm going to ask you to
Stop,
just calm
please.
down.
Stop.
and let's go forward here, okay?
Parks Director is asking to speak.
And as the review committee or the project committee, I was left out of that from the beginning on all these decisions, okay? Mr. Drock, go ahead.
Okay. So, as I had mentioned previously about the contract being created and terminated, you know, the process that I go through is I'll obtain applicants, I'll review the applicants, I'll contact them individually, and then I will arrange for an interview. Sometimes they've been in person, sometimes they've been like go-to Zoom meetings as well, but prior to setting up those interviews, I will create a panel. So then it's not biased, or there's no favoritism or anything like that. You know, I try to select people that I work with directly. I believe majority of the time Penny was involved on those interviews. Chet has been involved on those interviews, and I believe Summer Madison has also been involved in those panel interviews. So, you know, I purposefully do that to try to keep it a fair interview process. You know, and I interview all applicants that I get as long as they're willing to come interview. Trying to remember anything else that might have been questioned to help clarify anything that I can help with.
So I want the citizens to know, okay, the commissioners are taking a role or are not taking a role that they're responsible to take. And we had a mess at Boys Cove, 3 different park couples in 6 weeks. I'll stand on that. The board needs to do their research. We need to understand everything so we can prevent more hard feelings that we had during that time. Not taking a side, but I know what my responsibility is, and we need to move forward on that.
If I may.
Commissioner Pash?
I make a motion that the board prepare an order to have the Parks Director to start the process and start the panel along with the Director of Operations and a liaison commissioner.
So what I'm hearing is the board will have no say in that panel, and we won't have any say in the initial applicants for park host. If the director, who doesn't matter who it is, doesn't matter who our parks coordinator is, if he or she deems that it's not somebody that they want to bring to the panel, then that couple or those camp hosts are lost forever. What is your insight and our responsibility for doing this job?
Is that a question to me?
Yes.
I think we have to rely on someone that we as a board interviewed and hired as a parks director or a director of operations. We have to rely on someone. We need to rely on ourselves, sir. Please don't interrupt me.
I'm sorry.
Please. We have hired different department heads to run their departments through their experience. We have hired Mr. Durock to run our parks, be our parks director. Through his experience and our trust in him, because we hired him, we have to allow him to start a process that is then, yes, overseen by the Director of Operations for Curry County and a liaison commissioner for the Parks Department. And those are the checks and balances that make this a due process.
So would you restate your motion, please, Commissioner Pash?
I would like to make a motion that we have to revive the order from what I've read, and that the Parks Director, and we'll have to bring this order back for review and signature, but the motion would be in general that the Parks Director take applications, a panel, review those applications, and bring a applicant to the Director of Operations and the Liaison Commissioner for approval.
All applications. Could you add that to your? So nobody is by one person arbitrarily dismissed from that process. Do you understand what I'm asking for there?
The panel will review all applications.
All applicants.
The panel reviews all applications.
No.
Yes.
The panel.
Excuse me. Yes. Yes.
The panel reviews all applications, yes.
So you're confirming that one person doesn't have the authority to remove one applicant or two or whatever prematurely?
My motion is the Park Director takes the applications, delivers them to a panel they select an applicant from that, and I'm sure that the panel will also include the Parks Director and, from what I understand, our liaison commissioner. They will bring that applicant to the Director of Operations and the liaison commissioner for approval.
I understand your motion.
I'll second that motion.
Any further discussion?
No, sir.
Call for the question?
I got a question.
Yes.
Oh, I guess.
You do have further discussion. Go ahead, sir.
So right now, they're not beating our door down.
Yeah, actually, yesterday I received a call of somebody that was interested, you know, and I almost delivered them an application yesterday, but I was actually unable to get in contact with them when I was out in the area dealing with other parks issues. We did have some applicants previously that I had spoken with, and they pretty much accepted the position. And then when I called back to set up the Zoom meeting or go-to meeting, they actually decided not to take the position. I was informed that, you know, the individual's wife was concerned about being on the ocean during the winter. They weren't, you know, from the coastal area, and they actually had sent out multiple applicants or applications, and were potentially looking at taking an offer from Douglas County. So that was one of the things that has happened recently with the camp host positions. Like I said, I had somebody contact me yesterday that said that they were very interested, and I have another applicant as well. And I just wanted to clarify that any and all applicants that I get, I contact, as I mentioned, individually to make sure that they are still interested and kind of go over what the job entails. And then from there is when I try to set up for the panel interview. And after that, once they are selected, then I would bring that selected, whoever they may be, to the liaison and say, hey, we found somebody, we have somebody. And then once that was done, it's brought to Director of Operations for them to create the contract, because they are volunteers. We're talking about volunteers here. They don't get an hourly wage, they don't get benefits or anything like that. They're just volunteers.
Yeah.
So once that person's selected, I would talk to my liaison, and then it would be brought to Director of Operations. They draft up the contract. We'd get those people to sign that contract, and then that's when it would be brought before the board. And the board, I don't recall if it was just a consent agenda item where it's just, you know, kind of approved. But
so could you please, I'm going to ask a favor, if you could provide the commissioners with the applicants you've had since the camp was closed in November. Would you mind doing that? I'm going to ask all the applicants that you've had to date. I'd like to see those applicants.
I guess that's something Director of Operations.
Oh, that's a direct question to you. Will you provide the commissioners with direct copies of the applicants you've received to date since the park was closed in November? Yes or no?
I have a question. Is that, I mean, typically it would be a direction of a majority of the commissioners for that action to occur. So is that, I think the majority.
So would you like to have all the applications?
Yeah, the majority of the commissioners would have to agree with that proposition.
Well, my question to begin with was, we don't have a lot of people that are breaking our door down to be applicants. So, Anthony, I got to determine this. So, Chris's motion was to allow Brad and myself on that.
The panel or the
interview panel?
Interview panel. So are you okay with that? I mean, you didn't mention that just a minute ago.
No,
so.
I don't have a problem with that. I'm just, you know, it's I guess something you guys are going to vote on and decide on yourselves. But like I had mentioned previously, we're talking about a volunteer position, you know. But I don't have a problem with that. Everybody that wants to be interviewed is interviewed.
Yeah.
And that's basically how it happens. I just don't feel that this type of thing where, you know, it keeps coming up in the meetings to the public, I don't think that it's benefiting us receiving applicants.
Mr. Draka, the reason I made issue, because I thought I heard you say, maybe you can correct now, that you would look at the applicants and then decide which you would want to bring to the panel.
No.
Okay,
No.
so if I misunderstood, you're going to bring all the applicants
Yes.
to the panel?
Always do.
Okay.
Always do, sir.
Well, what applicants have you brought so far? I mean,
As I had previously mentioned, I had 3 applicants.
okay,
And
so I'll stop you there. Good. Do you agree that the commissioner should be able to see those applicants?
No,
So just the liaison commissioner?
well.
Why would that information be kept from us?
Well,
So we can move with we can move on with the motion here. You did second, right?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you. Any further discussion? I think we better repeat the motion.
Well, we got the motion. Well, we're waiting as roll call.
Okay. Staff Jesuit, do you understand the motion? Could you repeat it, please?
To revise the order, Parks Director take applications, delivers to the panel for review those applications, and bring applications to Liaison Commissioner for board approval.
Understood.
Board approval?
No, not board approval.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
take the application, bring those applications to a panel. The liaison commissioner will sit on that panel. The selection by the panel will go to the liaison commissioner and director of operations
For
for
signature.
contract approval.
And who selects the panel? Is that a different, separate motion, Council Huddle, we probably need?
I don't think so. You've heard, the panel would be what's kind of called administrative discretion. You've heard the Parks Director, Durock, say that typically Economic Development Director, Penny Hudgens is in building, but she used to be in Parks, and I can't remember, you mentioned another one too, but this is adding, the Economic Development Director, this is adding to that panel the Liaison Commissioner and the Director of Operations, just the Liaison Commissioner. Okay, and then after that panel looks at them, it sounds like it's a 2-person decision of the Liaison Commissioner and Director of Operations.
Yes. So I have an issue with, not being involved with the selection of the panel. Typically, doesn't work for me because I wasn't notified before, so that's going to be an issue down the road. Not that I have anything against the panel, I just don't know who all was on there. I've heard references today, which is helpful, but I still don't know for sure. So call for the question.
Commissioner Pash.
Aye.
Vice Chair Herzog.
Yes.
Commissioner Chair Boyce.
No.
Motion carried 2-1.
So we will bring back an order for the next
Yes.
meeting to make sure we get it clear.
Yes.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you.
Item 7E, agenda preparation, submittal, rule review. Whoop, I thought you raised your hand, Director Rickard, I'm sorry. Including today, recently there have been several same-day and last-minute submittals for the Curry County Board to review. These late action item approvals are not good for public transparency because the commissioners as well as the public do not have adequate notice. These will be on the agenda. Further, they put the board at a disadvantage because we have no time to consider the item before a vote. At the end of discussion, I will urge the commissioners to adopt a rule to better organize agenda preparation, and then keeping this somewhat simple, I'm on the edge of the pavement here. This is what was adopted some time ago, and it's good business. It's a path to follow. It is going to simplify things. Today we had the, no fault on anyone here, but appoint a commissioner to the South Coast Business Board of Directors. I didn't know what that was, and I did figure out, and then Director Rickard confirmed during break that it was the South Coast Business Employment Corporation. I served on that board clear back in the late 80s. Very important board, very close to the Southwest Oregon Workers Investment Board, and I think we caught Commissioner Pash a bit off guard, but he was put on that as liaison commissioner back in early January. So this is one item here.
So we have somebody on that board.
Yes, we do. So we'll come back to that. But we just need more information, to, as I stated in the opening remarks there, that sheds light on what we're voting on. So there's number 2. This is just a good program to follow. Here's the agenda preparation guide. So we don't need action on this today. I just want to make a highlight that I don't want to, what I'm asking for is fewer last minute, and we've all been guilty. We've all been guilty. So last minute agenda items without proper support, information to be included. And, you know, when I worked with Commissioner Huxley the first 2 years, he was a real stickler on this, and I was a little bit resistant. The more I got around the rationale that he used, the more I liked it. So we're just falling off a little bit here. So we don't have to have an action item on this. I would like to have a consensus with the board, though, that this is a good route to go. Did you get a chance to read it?
Yeah.
Good, thank you. Commissioner Pash?
I did look through this. I work very hard not to ever put late things on. I think I have probably maybe less than 10 times in 2 years, I'm guessing. So I do work hard at that, and I always try to not add anything to the agenda that I don't have the documentation to give full transparency to the board. So I agree that, you know, we need to make sure that what we're asking JJ and Director of Operations to plan these meetings, we have time constraints, and make sure if we're marking, I've always said, I've asked a couple of times during our meetings in the last few months, if you're asking for 20 minutes and you think it might take 40, ask for 40 so that our director can properly plan the time, and he can know that maybe something smaller that could wait another week or two can be pushed out to allow a presentation that's going to take more time and is more important to be pushed into that slot. So I think it's very good planning to make sure that our agenda preparation is done properly. I don't know if we have to have a list of guidelines, but just common sense and good commissioner work to work with our Director of Operations and JJ to make sure things are done properly.
Do you think the chair should be involved in those agendas?
I don't think so.
You were, though, the first 2 years.
Never was.
Never.
I never asked to stage anything in agenda. Never. It's not a. It's
we didn't
not
put very many things on the agenda, frankly. But
it's not a chair's job.
We certainly disagree there. Director Rickert?
I just will say, well, I agree with Commissioner Pash about a lot of it's kind of common sense. What you put on an ARS, the items or the descriptions and that. I do agree that we need to make sure that things are in on time by the deadlines, because it does promote transparency to the public, as well as giving each commissioner the needed time to review it. However, there are times that last-minute items are necessary. Case in point was the letter from the Roadmaster, written by Commissioner Boyce. Some things are unavoidable, but I think most of the time, most of those who are submitting ARSs are getting them in on time.
So these two items here, these two documents, are work that past boards have used and been very faithful to. I don't think it was wasted time that they believed consistently. I think this is about 15 years old, both of them, that they consistently believed that guidelines were very important. And they existed many years before we had a county administrator or director of operations. There was nothing complicated, in county departments and commissioners followed those rules. The BOC office and staff prepared the agendas. Things ran fine without a CA or DOC, Director of Operations for the county. It was simple common sense that you just referred to, Commissioner Pash, everyone doing their jobs. All's been done before, and two is basically the long-term system that is used in other counties, neighboring counties. The only of the 5 counties close to us that has a Director of Operations or a county administrator is Jackson County. They're 10 times the size of us, and make that 12 times the size of us, and they have a county administrator, but they also have $80 million in the bank, or at least they did 2 years ago. So that's all I have to say on this. Yes, Commissioner Herzog?
You know, as president of another board, I don't set the agenda. The agenda is prepared by executive assistant and the general manager. and then it comes before, then we get together and look it over. But just like today, there's always an opportunity to add or, that's just, and this, like we approved adding that letter about FEMA and this hold harmless letter. So I think we always have to allow that. But if it was, if it was a 12-page letter, it might be something different. But I think there's always an opportunity to add and take away stuff from the agenda as the three of us agree to. So,
Mr. Pash?
That's one more point on here is that, here's an order for the camp host that we just dealt with, for full transparency, because we're going to change a county order. We're going to do that language in that letter and bring it back for our next meeting. So it gives it gives those kind of things that you're going to change an order. It's always going to take an extra meeting or two to get that done. So it's full transparency for the public. The smaller things like a waiver sign or, those kind of things, where there's the public's knowledge of that isn't going to change the way they think of the county. It's just that's what I call housekeeping in daily business.
So we're okay, it sounds like?
I think.
Okay. So thank you, Board. Let's go to item 7F. Council Huddle?
Well, just checking. So is there, I'm just as listening, it doesn't sound like there's really any board direction to change anything what we're currently doing.
I think I had some questions answered. I think there's some refinement. I think we're all working toward a new board that just started in January. I think we're all working towards the right path, and so I think it was a good, healthy discussion. I'm satisfied. I wasn't asking it to be an action item. This information was very helpful to me to reread after 4 or 5 years. So I thank the staff for making that available. Did that answer? Are you okay then, Council Huddle?
Yeah, sure. I just wanted to, like the last one, we had direction to bring back an order. This one, there's no direction. I'm just making sure that when we get out of here, I don't have to go write some up or anything like that.
Well, thank you for double checking on that.
Yep.
Anyone else?
No, sir.
Item 7F, the 2021 meeting schedule. Director Rickert?
Okay, so when we met in January, we set a meeting schedule through the end of March. Okay. And so it's about time to bring it back to continue setting that meeting schedule. It's pretty straightforward, pretty much every other week. In May, there is a change up with the budget hearings that will be going on. But I'm asking for board approval on this or discussion. And maybe it's a good time to bring up the March 24th date. Sounds like maybe there was some confusion when the board set that before. It was the normal meeting time would have been the 17th, but it was pushed back to the 24th because Commissioner Herzog had.
I think we're all on board on that.
Schedule.
Yeah.
However.
Okay. Go ahead. You first.
Well, I completely understand you want to do what you've got to do. I had on my calendar, my account taxes get done, and I book those like the year before when he does my taxes. He only comes to the county 3 days during tax season, and he's booked every time he comes. So he's been doing my taxes forever, and unfortunately he wants to do them that morning. I can't even be available on phone for most of the meetings. So the only thing I would ask the board is if it's something important on the 24th meeting, that I could be available from like 9 till 9:30, 9:45-ish, that we push forward and I could be on telephone. But anything later than that, I'm going to be unavailable. I should be back available for the workshop that afternoon.
Well.
Because he only takes 4 or 5, maybe 4 hours to get my taxes done because he's been doing them so long he knows. And I send him a lot of information before I go.
But you agreed to that change from the 17th, correct?
I initially did agree.
Okay, that's all right. No, I don't mean to pick on you.
What I'm saying is I didn't have it on my county calendar that I needed to do my taxes that day. I had it on my home calendar, And then I actually didn't even realize it until about a week and a half ago. I realized that it was going to conflict.
Okay, Commissioner Herzog?
How about the 23rd, Tuesday the 23rd? I'll be back on the 22nd.
If I could.
Commissioner, Council Huddle?
Thanks. We have two items that have been, I think, publicly noticed for the 24th. One is a rate hearing for the CTR, and I think another one is we have to just cross some T's and dot some I's on the Title III stuff. So I think we're at least going to have two commissioners here, and Commissioner Pash, if those two items, I don't know that you'll have too much concern missing them. The rate hearings, typically we have a public hearing, nobody shows up, and the board makes a motion, and then the Title III is, we started the public process and we awarded, and now we just have to close that public process, and I think that'll be very similar, that typically we don't have a lot of participation. So those are the two items, but those are noticed for the 24th, so I don't think we can change the date.
So let's don't change it, and you had a great idea, Commissioner Herzog. Let's just set our meeting up for the 22nd. That's still 3 weeks from today, or less one day. What?
He just said we can't because we've got things to
No,
notice.
time out. We're going to keep both meetings, right?
The board can have more than one meeting if it wants. That's up to the board.
It's going to be a short one on the 24th, correct?
Depends, but...
All right. So the 23rd, can we do that? And I don't want to go one day longer than that, because that's 3 weeks. The agenda items are going to pile up. Go ahead, Director Rickert.
I would just suggest we continue holding the one on the 24th. As Commissioner Pash stated, if there are any important items, they can be done earlier in the morning, or possibly even pushed back to the next week. But
Or if there's something very important, may I suggest we reconvene after the workshop, because I'll be back for that.
Yeah.
And you could do the end of the day. If there's something really important, do it at the end of the day.
I'm good with that.
Council Huddle,
around it as best I can.
the public hearings that you reference, are you anticipating?
Nope.
Okay.
You guys have participated in several public hearings already, and you know what those are like.
So what time are we slotted for that?
Oh, I think they're noticed usually at either 10 or 11 o'clock, so one of those 2 hours. I don't have it up here. I just know the date. I don't have the exact. I could probably pull it up if you really need to.
That's okay. No, we can figure it out later. All right, so I think we're in agreement. We won't do the 23rd, and we'll just pile up and get our work done on the 24th.
I have a legal question, because I'm going to still read the packet. I know I'm absent at the vote, but couldn't I still approve that at signing? Or does it have to be done in public?
Thank you. The rule is that as long as you are fully aware of the facts supporting the decision, you can sign on the decision.
Okay. So I can still sign on those public hearing decisions?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
All right, so we have consensus. We're okay, yep. Everybody?
Yep.
Great. Item 7G, budget calendar.
That's what we just did.
Huh? Do we need a motion?
No, we just did 21 meetings.
You are right. I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's okay.
So I make a motion to accept the amended meeting schedule.
I'll second.
My apologies, Board. I didn't know that. I thought we just needed the consensus on that, so good work. Any more discussion? Call for the question, Staff Jesuit.
Commissioner Pash.
Aye.
Vice Chair Herzog.
Yes.
Chair Boyce.
You're so quiet today. Yes.
Motion carried unanimously.
Item 7G, budget calendar. Director Rickert.
Okay, so similarly related to the schedule, I have put out a budget calendar since it is budget season, and just ask for board approval of that or any suggestions if there are any.
I have none.
I thought that was good. Commissioner Herzog, are you there?
Actually, it won't download, but I'm good with
Mine
that.
didn't download either. I did read it, though, so
Is yours on, Chris?
Yes, sir.
This is the budget calendar.
Yes.
See this? It says no preview available. It was...
Yeah, mine did.
March 3rd.
Yeah, do you want to just go, Brad, it's one page, somebody?
Yeah,
Anybody?
I
Brad,
can
it's
do
your...
it.
It had some great dates
Sorry,
on it.
Commissioner Pash,
Okay. BOC approves budget calendar and appoints budget officer.
Today.
That'd be today. Budget worksheets distributed to department heads. That'd be done by
It's already
March
done.
3rd.
Oh.
March 12th. I'm sorry. Budget meetings with departments between March 18th and April 1st. Notice of budget committee meeting would be done on the April 21st and April 23rd. Notice of budget committee meeting on the website needs to be done by April 26th. Possible tours of facilities and projects for the budget committee done on May 10th. First budget committee meeting would be the 11th. The second meeting would be on the 12th. The third meeting, if needed, would be done on the 13th. And then publish notice of budget hearing in the newspaper on the May 26th and May 28th. Budget hearing, resolution to adopt budget and tax levies, June 9th. Submit tax levies and appropriations resolution to county assessor at July 15th, and budget document to county clerk by the deadline of September 30th.
Okay. Board? I make a motion to approve the budget calendar.
Second.
Further discussion? Again, I thought that was good work. Call for the question, Sir Jesuit.
Commissioner Pash.
Aye.
Vice Chair Herzog.
Yes.
Chair Boyce.
Yes?
Motion carried unanimously.
Question for Director. Brad, you had on the first item, March 3rd, is adopt the calendar and appoint the budget officer?
Yeah, that's item I.
Thank you. All right.
Yeah, it's right next. Thank you, Council Huddle.
Oh, I see the Quebec, but thank you.
Go ahead, Director Rickert. Item 7I, appoint a budget officer.
Okay, so every year the BOC must appoint a budget officer. The job description of the county accountant states that this person is designated, or as the director of accounting states that this person is designated as county budget officer. Therefore, as I am the director of operations with the responsibilities of the finance director and the county accountant, I recommend that I am appointed as the budget officer for Curry County.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion at all? Thank you. Staff Jesuit, vote please.
Commissioner Pash.
Aye.
Vice Chair Herzog.
Yes.
Chair Boyce.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously.
Thank you. Good work again. 7J, Curry County Director of Operations, change in job description discussion. We're doing pretty good on time, but I'm going to read something here. March 3rd, which is today, Curry County Director of Finance and Director of County Operations. Commissioners, today I want to follow up on meetings we've had to summarize where I think we are and see if the board can come to terms and pull in the same direction. Excuse me, on September 2nd of last year, my apologies, workshop discussion. I submitted and brought to the board a complete BOC office reorganization draft plan. And you've both seen that plan, I think. Yes, thank you. On January 6, 2021 workshop discussion, I likewise brought a detailed reorganization and recommendation for a BOC office, a director of operations structure and recommendation. We hire a part-time office manager. In 2019, when we first come on board, Commissioner Pash, I brought before you Sid Lykin for a 3-day-a-week office manager, and we didn't pursue that. And he would have been willing to work for 3 days a week. His background is 8 years as a Lane County Commissioner, 8 years or 9 years, I think it was, as Springfield Mayor, and we passed on him. Instead, we hired Director of Operations, who I was in favor of after the Lykin departure, and that Director of Operations, it cost the taxpayers $250,000 in 2 years. I'm not saying that's good or bad, but I want the taxpayers to know what that was. On February 17th, 2021 workshop discussion, I submitted to the Board of Commissioners our liaison responsibilities compared to the county administrator non-elected with authority approach. This matter has also previously been discussed numerous times in the 4+ years I've been a commissioner. As you know, I've not been in favor of this type of organization since the beginning. I'm still not. And again, no offense to Mr. Rickert, it's just how I feel our county should be governed. And we know it is how the majority of our citizens have and feel as well. The 2008-2014 elections against home rule county government. So then in early February, we had a mid-year budget review, including all Curry departments. we learned that there is still considerable work to be done on our county budgets, present and future. And there's likewise still substantial work to be done on our new OpenGov accounting program, which I voted for in the very beginning and then immediately backtracked and pretty much pleaded with the board to back away from that very expensive system. And in respect to you, Commissioner Pash, I'm going to try and figure out exactly what that 4 or 5 year plan will be, as you mentioned the other day that I was overstating that cost, and if that is true, I definitely want to apologize for that. So further, we learned recently that we will receive this year $1 million less in PILT funds. Not recently, but we knew that was coming, but it hit us when we least expected it. Prior, continually being told, not prior to, well, actually the end of last year, September through, that we're in reasonably good shape. And we also have, is code enforcement down $100,000? I'm not sure on that, so don't quote me on that, but we need to do our homework. At the conclusion of our 2/17/21 meeting, I believe the board was taking a wait-and-see approach to whether we should make changes. That was 2 weeks ago. I think Commissioner Herzog said he wanted to learn more about the budget and determine where we stood on those issues. Also at the same meeting, we learned that we were going to have to pay a private contracting account to assist with this year's budget and the OpenGov transition from our CASEL program. By the way, correct me if I'm wrong, CASEL is still costing us $20,000 per year. I'm sorry, but that all just makes no sense to me, so I voted no on that particular contractor. Not because of her help in our system, but because of her work with the transition and her expertise in CASEL. It was stated that it was budgeted, but that doesn't make it okay. Doesn't mean we can afford it or that we should spend it. Again, being we're at least $1 million down, it's imperative we find savings and quickly. Commissioner Herzog, you voted with staff's recommendation, but please think about that. In August, we advertised for a finance director and a director of operations. I've never not opposed that combination, and my votes have always reflected that, especially the county administrator position. But Mr. Rickert said, yeah, I can do that. I can do both. And now he's asking, and I don't blame him because this is what he inherited, to pay someone to help him. Plus we have another full-time person in finance that we've never had before. Overtime also being paid within this very important department. And to also mention, we've had to hire yet a second private accountant to do an expensive, yet time-consuming important payroll audit. These are all very good people. That's not the point. However, to date, I remain uncertain where the funds are going to come from. There are other current similar issues that I've consistently communicated in past discussions. My 4-year record of consistent warnings and opposition to unnecessary and wild spending, I don't think that's an overstatement in my opinion. It's very clear. And here, that's the 2017, 2018. This document, do your research. Waste. Some of my had to support. Most of them I did not. Further, at the same meetings, we discussed in our workshop the role of commissioner liaisons. Council huddle read from several older orders regarding liaison duties. I put those on your desk earlier today. And those are from 2001, 2004, and 2006. Regs still in our books, I think still relevant to where we are today. Those include the individual liaison commissioner's authority to reprimand department directors and employees who are not otherwise supervised. Now the reprimand is the word used in those 3 documents. I'm not saying I necessarily like that word, but it might be quite appropriate. Again, department directors and employees who are not otherwise supervised. We have a strong promise to the citizens we represent for wise oversight. I know of no previous or current commissioners who interpreted that as responsibility to micromanage managers. Commissioner Herzog, you also indicated you had done ride-alongs with 2 of the departments you are liaison for. I believe you were pretty comfortable, and no surprise that it's not that difficult for us to supervise those department managers as needed, and that is our responsibility. It's my strong opinion we've got to take a load off Director Rickert. I have reminded the board that Mr. Rickert is the highest paid finance director we've ever had. Presently, he's making $20,000 plus or minus more than most of our elected officials, some that have even been here for 30 years. $20,000 extra. For 3 decades, the finance director position was simply titled Curry County Accountant. Basically no issues. I guess that same statement, however, could be said about almost every one of our current employees. The reason I need to remind the board of our recent adoption of the 2020 Curry Salary Study to comply with the Oregon State Pay Equity Law, which requires us to see that comparable job positions receive equal pay. The past board was in favor of this. It's a responsibility, not to mention, yes, we wanted to follow the law. It's important to note, though, we could not average or reduce the higher pay to the lower. No, we had to, of course, raise everyone up to the highest comparable job. So all of our employees are essentially the highest paid employees respective to their positions we've ever had. Similar, as is in July of 2020, I'm still, with considerable anxiety, trying to figure out where and when all those chickens are going to come home to roost and where the money's going to come from. Unintended consequences are going to surface. I hope I'm overstating that, and I hope I'm wrong. Simple. Just a bit ago, I placed a schedule and we reviewed our past rules for agenda preparation. These existed many years before we had a county administrator or director of operation. There was nothing complicated, and county departments and commissioners followed those rules. It was simple common sense. Again, everyone doing their jobs has all been done before. I'm only one Curry commissioner of the last 5 that has attended county college. Without county college, both of you have no reference of what I'm talking about and how other counties operate and the benefit that's been and the difficulty it's been for me to see how our county has operated in adverse to the way most counties operate, and I've said that before. Regarding county college, ask State Representative David Brock-Smith, United States National Young Legislator of the Year, 1 of 2, how important he thinks county college is. It's not too late for either one of you, by the way.
I went to county college.
Okay. Did we ever get a report that you did, sir? Did you ever make a report back on, I don't recall that. What I strongly recommend is that we change Mr. Ricker's job description back to county accountant and director of finance, and we fully resume our authority as department liaison commissioners, which was always the practice in the county up until mid-2017. It bears repeating. This terribly costly system I've been strongly opposing for 4 years was forced on by elected officials who implemented it over the voters' wishes that more than once rejected that structure. So again, I'm asking, what I would urge is that we as a persons responsible for this county really look hard at what we are spending and who needs to do what. We all have a role. At this time, our responsibilities are unfortunately blurred, sometimes even blocked. The costs have been staggering. And there's your validation. By the way, those figures need to be verified, and I think it would be in the best interest of our citizens to make sure it's incredibly accurate. Let's be bold and prudent. Resume the duties for agenda preparations, materials, and documentations like it was when I was elected. And as a start in both of these directions, that we as a persons responsible for our county as soon as possible dedicate Brad Rickert to finance director and county accountant operations only. Because the budget is so critical, I'm asking the board to suspend all of his non-financial duties. It is the right and best thing to do if Director Rickert commits to that and saves the day, so to speak. I'm going to put a smile on my face because I have as much confidence in him as anybody else here. I would support his salary remaining as it presently is. We can relieve Mr. Rickert of those duties of listening to employee complaints and answering to the public, etc. There's one person that was in his office for 35 minutes the other day. And the commissioner liaison, his door was wide open, so I don't understand that. His time is getting compromised. We should dismiss him from the repeated chore of BOC meeting agenda preparations and review. We can free his time to focus on learning county finances, learning county budget law, overseeing and assisting with the pending payroll audit, and taking the lead on the open gov transition, saving every dime we can there. We're stuck, it looks like. This is critically important as it will limit our outside spending on all of the above and more. The simple return to these policies is good for Curry County and will result in no harm to anyone. I am completely convinced this could be a big win for Director Rickert, no loss to him financially, and most important, a win for the people we serve. Now, we're not meeting again for 3 weeks, so if the board has some discussion on this and wants to vote today, I'd really like to have a motion. That motion would be Brad Rickard to be directed to finance and county accountant operations only. Thank you, board. That's all I have for now. Commissioner Pash?
I will restate for the record, yes, we did not want to have a county administrator because of some of the duties of an administrator that I disagreed with. Again, you and I, along with David Barnes and Julie Schmelzer, met at my property several times and discussed a director of operations position that would be limited in its scope, and you were fully on board with that. When we voted for a director of operations in January of 2019, you voted yes. When Ms. Schmelzer left, or was preparing to leave, we had brought Mr. Director Rickard in as our new county director of operations on a temporary basis. In a December 16th meeting, you asked this board to appoint him as a full-time director of operations. I don't know what has changed since then, but only in December of this year, mid-December, you were the one that asked the board to make him the full-time county director of operations and to change his job to permanent. As far as the PILT money you mentioned a while ago, I don't think it was writing on the wall, because 2 years ago I was in Washington, D.C. with NACO, and I listened to our two senators, Merkley and, gosh, I can't remember the other one's name right now. Wyden. Stand on the steps up there and beat their chests and tell everyone in NACO that they were going to have this PILT money and the SRS money in perpetuity, and they'll get it signed by October, and it's done. That was their promise. But when they come here and they sit in Port Orford and bash our president and do nothing to move that forward, and then they finally just give up on it and throw it in the wind, I was kind of hoping that they'd get that done as they promised us, and they never did. So I was expecting the PILT money, and I never did think that it would be compromised. It might have been reduced some more. I was actually quite shocked to learn that it was gone, and that both Senator Wyden and Merkley have completely given up on it. So that was my disappointment there. I did attend county college, and I found it personally to be a waste of my time. Anyone that understands basic business practices is steps ahead in county college. Does it make great relationships? Absolutely. But I spent 4 days in Eugene area and listened to a college basically come in and give us a lot of general knowledge and then promote, and this is why the county needs to keep supporting this college, because of these programs that we're doing. It was more a pitch for the college and this county to help support them than it was to learn information about county government and how it works. And you may have got more from that than I did. Representative Smith may have gotten more, and I appreciate the work that AOC does. But as I've stated before, I thought county college, I didn't get a lot out of it. So we hired Director of Operations, Brad Rickard, to move here from Utah, bring his family here, and to do the job of Director of Operations. You, on December 16th, rubber stamped that to further it, to make his position permanent. And then 3 or 4 weeks later, asked this county to do away with his job and said to him, I want to see you succeed, but I'm doing away with your job. I think a lot of the time that Mr. Rickard spends in this county is more putting out fires and dealing with the disgruntled employees than they are doing his actual job of Director of Operations and answering emails that he shouldn't even be getting because of the push-pull in this county constant. So I would urge this board not to even consider removing Director Rickard from the Director of Operations. He is limited in his scope. This board still has full control over the hiring and firing of different people in this county. We have different controls that we had taken away from an administrator and brought back to this board that I fully agreed with. I will not support any thought of removing Mr. Rickert as Director of Operations, and I will be greatly disappointed if we do.
Commissioner Herzog?
I'm just going to read a little bit about a little bit what I stated at a commissioner's declaration or whatever. I didn't say anything for a while, but I'll just repeat this. As for changes, for me, it is too early in my time here to make any decision on changing anyone's job. Personally, I think I will benefit from going through a budget process so I can really get an idea where things are and what they cost and what the value is to the county. So I said that, and it's in writing, and I'm going to stick to that. And I've met personally with Brad and Director Rickert, and I apologize if I'm not formal. I got a complaint here last week that I don't address people correctly, and I apologize for that. So I say Director of Operations Rickert and Commissioner Pash, Commissioner Boyce, and I apologize if I just call you by your first name, and I don't mean anything by it if I do. Other than I really like.
Has somebody been offended though?
Yeah, somebody was offended, and
Okay,
and that's their right. And she probably shouldn't have said she's a voter. So anyway, so don't take it that I am demeaning your position at all or anything, but that's just me, and it's hard to teach an old dog new tricks. I got hands up in the audience, so Julie?
Julie, just before you do, please, when we voted to hire to clear the record, Director Pash, I abstained on the vote for Brad Rickert, only in the sense, and I made this very clear, that I wanted him 100% as county accountant and director of finance. I did not give him a vote of confidence. I've never given him a vote of confidence to be the Director of Operations. I just referred you to 3 different dates where I have tried to set up a different BOC office, reorganization. So I have no idea what you're referring to there. If I misstated or misspoke, then I'll have to follow my sword and apologize.
I would ask you to refer to the December 16th meeting.
Okay.
And I believe it was the executive session from that meeting.
Oh.
I'm not certain, but it was the executive session.
Okay, yeah. So, Director Rickert, I have been incredibly sensitive of you moving your family here. I have been, even if we go by what Commissioner Pash just communicated, vote of confidence, I have tried absolutely to publicly and privately give you that vote of confidence. We have a disagreement on how this government should be ran, and I don't need to keep saying it, has in a lot of ways has nothing to do with you. As far as county college goes, Commissioner Pash, it's kind of like going to a new church. You got to go 2 or 3 times before you figure out if it's where you belong. You can't just go one time and say, and I don't blame you for the reason you had a disheartened attitude on what was communicated that day. So that's all I have. I think I covered everything.
So Julie Swift, Payroll and HR, I just want to clarify. I was on a little delay on the meeting, but I think you said something about the Director of Administration office changing in 2017, and that's not exactly true. We changed the format of the Commissioner's office in 2011 when we hired the first Director of Administration, and that position has morphed into the Director of Operations. So it's been in existence longer than you think. It wasn't just an office manager. And that position did have liaison duties with the department heads, as well as the commissioners having their liaison duties. But we did have a Director of Administration position.
Those job descriptions weren't dramatically different.
It was dramatically different from an office manager, yes.
Thank you.
Yes, it changed the structure of the office from office manager, administrative assistant to Director of Operations.
Okay, I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Barnes?
David Barnes, I'm the county treasurer. I've had the pleasure of being able to work with Mr. Rickert for the last month. Before I came here, my CV includes working with world-class professionals, renowned in their field, in finance, in management, in operations, in marketing, et cetera, et cetera. And I consider Mr. Rickard's skills above reproach. He is amazing at what he does. One of the things I would like to offer to you is I've noticed over my time in sitting in meetings as a member of the public that county council accepts and takes a lot of the responsibility or does a lot of the work that should fall on the county director of operations. Perhaps as we look to replace the county council at the end of the month, that instead of cutting back on Mr. Rickard's duties, we cut back on county council and we hire a part-time county council, because in an organization this size, I've attended, as I said to Mr. Huddle yesterday, I've attended meetings of probably 100 or more various bodies of governmental type bodies, and I'm unaware of a body of this of an organization, a county this size, that requires a full-time attorney. The attorney's job is to offer legal advice when asked questions, and I understand Jerry Urbich before worked in a function much like Mr. Huddle is now, where he participates at a level higher than is required of a county council. So, as you look at this and we talk about money, perhaps we get a will call attorney to come and work for the county rather than hiring another full-timer. I don't believe we need one. After having watched for 4 years and see what's been happening, I don't think we need a full-time county council. So you can save half of the salary right there. In terms of taking away Mr. Rickard's responsibilities and giving them back to the Board of Commissioners, it was just last week that I sat in a meeting in here and heard discussion of the consumption tax. And Commissioner Boyce, you mentioned how you were far too busy with everything to accept responsibility for developing a program that would bring in $2 million to the county. And yet now you are here today saying that you want to take more responsibility in terms of administration and day-to-day management. If you don't have the time to develop a consumption tax, which is your idea, where do you propose to find the time to take over the office administration of this building? Those are just a couple of points that I wanted to bring up. And, Brad, I think you're doing a great job, and I got you back 100%. I think you're doing spectacular, and I hope that the board leaves things the way they are, at least for the time being. Thank you very much.
Mr. Barnes, you mentioned, you'd be an excellent reference for Director Rickard. Is your expertise, your recognition, is that based on his financial capacities or all the above?
All the above, sir.
Thank you.
I've worked with world-class professionals in all trades of business, and I've worked with people who are hired for their professionalism and their reputations. And I consider Mr. Rickard, he's in a small place. Were he to go to a large company in a big city, he would find himself amongst those people very quickly, I am certain. Thank you.
So in reference real quick, it's noon, but in reference real quick to the consumption tax, I've already spent a ton of time on that, and I made it clear in the meeting the other day that I need another commissioner to come on board because I've been turned down consistently on that concept for 4 years. 5 different tries, so I'm not going to spend any more time on it. So the commission, I want the citizens to know, I think my job under my responsibility, my interpretation of that accountability and those duties are to be here 5 days a week minimum on all administrative duties, and that's what I've done. And I don't want to combat anyone for those responsibilities. And I think it's very clear what the voters want. The citizens have stated. That's just not disputable. So where are we going on this? It's 12:02, guys.
One more person.
No, we got to get to lunch here. So what else do we have on this, guys?
Thank you.
We're not going to go anywhere to a vote. Go ahead, Director Rickard.
I do have a couple comments I'd like to say.
Okay, go ahead.
I will keep them short. You have mentioned in many public meetings that I am the highest paid financial director that the county has ever had. I am setting the record straight by saying I'm not the finance director. I am the director of operations, and that pay is in line with what the previous Director of Operations has been paid. Furthermore, county voted down a county administrator. I am not a county administrator. I do not have the authority to hire or fire employees. I do not have the ability to sign a contract over $10,000. I do not have the authority to enter into agreements or anything without the board approval. I can't even accept a grant. This position is not a county administrator. It is a Director of Operations. And I do wonder how, without a Director of Operations, the board will assume all of those county responsibilities, including maintaining the cohesion of county operations among the departments, as there's potential change every 2 years with the commissioners. That is all I have to say at this point.
So the citizens need to know it's going to cost us, as far as the pay goes, that is correct what you said, but you are paid as a Director of Operation. I was willing to pay you substantially more as one commissioner to focus on the finances, which is the critical part of this whole program. So I don't know if I would have board agreement on that. We're really not going anywhere. I just want the citizens to know that we are taking a system of government, and it's $250,000 for the next 2 years. I don't know where the money's going to come from when we have our finance department that is requiring more hands-on than it ever has before, and by substantial numbers. Council Huddle?
Oh, thanks. And I just wanted to address Mr. Barnes. It was expressed to me that Mr. Barnes was not happy with the way I addressed him in the last meeting, and I want to personally apologize to him for that on the record. So that's all I had. Thanks for the opportunity.
And I'm going to add to that. I don't think you owed anybody an apology. I went back and looked at the review of that, and I'm shocked, but I admire what you just did. Commissioner Pash?
I would ask you here, you have one more person in the audience that raised his hand.
Why don't we have all department heads come in?
Well,
is that what we're doing here?
no, it's not the question.
Okay, so come on up, Mr. Brewer, please. It's 12:05.
I appreciate that, Chair. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Brad, I just here to speak for and/or with Brad. I want everybody on this board to seriously consider the changes that may happen in the worst sense of that, if this is to happen with changing, or this board agrees to change Brad's title, and what he will be in charge of will dramatically affect this whole county, including this board. Every department here, in my opinion, will be affected by that change, and I don't think it is a positive change for this county. And I state this as a taxpayer and as an employee here at the county. Again, Brad does a great job. We've not given Brad, in my opinion, full time to see what he can even totally give us. You guys, when I say this, the commissioners, other than Mr. Herzog, sitting here now, have given me that at least a minimum year, I would assume, before any direction or change in my position in leadership. I would hope we would try and do the same thing to anybody, for any employee here. My interactions with Brad have been nothing but fabulous, great. I've learned a lot from the gentleman already. He's done leaps and bounds to try and help me improve different parts and aspects of my professional personal life and my direct professional life here. I just think it will be a step backwards, and that's my opinion. And Brad, I do anything I can to try and help you. I think you know that by now. And everybody in this room, for that matter. Anything I can do to help to make this better. We've got to do something to try and make it move forward instead of keep falling backwards.
So, Mr. Brewer, I want to make sure I understand. You think, if I just understood you correctly, that it'll be detrimental to the citizens if the commissioners take their responsibility as hired to be supervisor over the department heads. You think that's detrimental to the citizens?
Yes.
Can you elaborate on that just a little bit?
I'm not willing to do that at this time because I'm not prepared. I didn't know we were going to go into a deep discussion.
It's obvious you're not prepared. I mean, you make a statement like that and then can't qualify it? I'm just really surprised. I mean,
I would love to have this meeting with you either in person or in an executive session or in your office anytime.
My office has always been open. I've had no issues with you whatsoever. So, okay, I'm just surprised that you think that would be a detriment to the citizens. So, do you understand, Commissioner Herzog, what just happened there? That if we do our jobs that we are hired to do, it's going to be a detriment to the citizens. I don't need to say any more. Okay, so what else we got?
I got something.
Thank
Okay,
you
go
for
ahead.
allowing me that time.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
So, I didn't really get to finish. So, I talked to Brad yesterday and told him that I was going to stick with my what I said in my opening comments in January. And I said, but Brad, you're wearing 3 hats. You're the county finance, director of finance, county accountant, and director of operations. Can you do it? And he said, yes. I said, I'm with you. I'm with you. I'm not for a county administrator, which we don't have. We've changed this. He's got responsibilities, but I want to make public comment that as a commissioner, I want to help him. I want to help him succeed, and I'll do everything I can. I think he knows that. So I'm not going to waver on what I said in January about I want to go through this budget process. If in fact we come to a point in the budget where we're lacking money, we're going to have some serious questions to answer. Part of that is mandated and non-mandated services. So I'm going to stick with Brad. He's assured me he can do all these. He's actually saving us money by not having, if he can do all 3 of those things, which it's a ton, but he's young. Remember that when we were young, what we could do? Well, he's young, and so he can do it. And he guaranteed me, and my office is right next to his, and I'm going to hold him to it. So that's all I have to say about that.
Thank you, Commissioner Herzog. I'm going to add just one more thing, and I want the public to know that actually we just clarified that Director Rickard has 4 jobs, and part of those jobs are under the Commissioner's responsibility. Those are County Accountant, Finance Director, Director of Operations, and Office Manager. He can't do it. Nobody could do it. And when our finances are in such a state, I greatly appreciate you acknowledging that after the budget process, we'll know more. Thank you for, also acknowledging mandated versus non-mandated services. But we're going down a path that's rolling the dice. And to not get him in there full-time immediately, I want the board to know and the citizens to know, I'll stop saying it after today. Well, that's probably not accurate, but it's not good for our county and our finances and our cause. Commissioner Pash?
I want to say also it's not healthy for our Director of Operations to come in every day wondering if he's going to have his job, if he's going to have emails from people asking him all these strange questions about his job and all of this stuff. It has to stop and let him focus on his job. I think if this man could focus on his job and come to work every day with knowing that he is strong, that he doesn't have to worry about looking behind him all the time or what's going to happen next week, let's leave him alone, let him do his job and focus on what we've got to get through here and stop this and readdress it in a year or 6 months, whenever you want to bring it back. But until that time, stop it and leave it alone.
I agree.
So, I understood what you just said, Commissioner. Nobody's threatened his job. To the contrary. It's just wrong. It's just wrong, okay?
I feel threatened. I feel threatened that my job is not going to be here tomorrow. It is complete, this has come up several times in a short period of time even. And this really leads to inefficiencies in work. It should not continue to happen. It is not fair to me. It's not fair to my family. It is not fair to the employees of the county, never knowing exactly what's going on. It's not fair to the citizens of the county that we continue wasting taxpayer dollars, continually bringing this and other subjects up over and over and over again and discussing them with the same outcome. Anyway, it's not fair, and I would also say, where would the county get the money to hire a county accountant, director of operations, office manager, and whatever the fourth thing you said? Anyway.
Council Huddle?
Thanks. Something that Director Rickert just said, and it was sort of touched on earlier today, and it goes to the agenda. Was this item even part of a revised agenda today? Was this the item that was on the revision of the agenda? I know we had an agenda and a revised.
It was on the workshop.
Okay. But either way, and I think what Director Rickert said about the use of resources to address a repeated topic, it actually, some of those rules that Commissioner Boyce himself proposed today would avoid that type of thing, to say that it could only be on an agenda if the commissioners approved it, so that before there would be another discussion of this, it would have to come to a meeting to say, can we talk about this next week, and there'd be a vote to approve it. That way, again, that way it's not constantly re-brought up by just one commissioner. It's just an idea of there could be some value to this agenda preparation, materials and approval process that could avoid some of this repeated things that Director Rickert's pointed out. So,
my position remains, if Director Rickert goes to where he belongs and what his expertise is, he improves the odds dramatically that his job will still be here. We'll all be working. That's how serious this county financial position is right now, with $1 million down. I don't know how it can be stated any other way. Commissioner Pash?
One final thought that we need to understand is Director Rickert doesn't work for us. We are county commissioners, and we do our job, and it's a relationship that we have. Could we all vote to terminate him or hire him? Yes, but his job is, we have directed him to be the director of operations for this county, and we are to join him and assist him in everything we can do to help him. And again, I just hope that we can let him focus on his job and stop the monthly or bi-monthly meetings about his job, and let him understand, Mr. Rickert, your job is safe here. We are behind you. Anything we can do to help and move forward on other issues.
Is there consensus on the board then that this topic will not be brought up until it is voted on by a majority of the board at a future meeting?
That would be my consensus.
I think we have that.
All right.
I have one more thing, and that is this. As we move forward, we hired Director Rickert knowing that there were two commissioners. He moved his family here knowing there's two commissioners, had great apprehension about the home rule charter, the system of government, and what we strongly felt his priorities would be. Did I welcome him? You bet. Have I supported him? Absolutely. One more time. He needs to be in that financial office 100% of the time. That's it. That's all I have.
He is.
Thank you. Everybody be back here at 1 o'clock for executive session.